Greetings and welcome to En Route 23. I'm Miss Roots, and here is my co-host. No, he's disappeared. Nathan Israel has disappeared. I'm sure he'll be back. This is actually our third Sunday session. So we're doing well. We've been consistent so far off the back of the Talk 24 that happened the last weekend of the Black History Month. We have continued to do sessions and discussions around the Black community, issues within our community, the African diaspora, and so on. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't kept up with the Sunday sessions, go over to YouTube, go and see what we've been doing, catch up on the sessions you've missed. And of course, if you didn't take part in the 24-hour talkathon during Black History Month again, there's some footage there that you could go and watch. So this evening, we have a theme of taking a critical look at the Bible. Okay, I have our resident guest speaker here with us, Corey, and at some point Nathan Israel will join us. I think he's having slight technical issues, so I'm going to bring Corey up. Welcome him this evening. Thank him for joining us. So good evening, Corey.
Hi there. I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you're good.
Yeah.
I'm excited about today's this evening's talk. It should be really interesting. And I think it's a conversation that we probably should have more often. In some cases, we kind of do underestimate sometimes the power and relevance of the Bible, even though our current judiciary system and our legal system is literally built upon it. And so like we kind of put that to the side and don't realize what that's how our law system is built. It's literally built on biblical scriptures, beliefs, and outlined behaviors. Kind of like 10 Commandments-ish, but with some extra.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a nice way to kind of introduce some of the discussion that we'll be having this evening. Looks like Nathan's ready, so let's bring him up. Good evening.
Hey.
Are you okay?
Good evening, family. Good evening, family.
Good evening.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sorry. With that, I just had to get myself onto the... You know what's actually cool? Just real quick. I know I just want you to continue what you're saying, Corey, as well. There was a tip as well to use wired network, which is better than Wi-Fi. So I've learned something new, that how powerful just being wired in. So I had to just connect my LA needs just now. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So just saying that this evening we're gonna... Sorry. Go on. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah, I was just reiterating. I wasn't sure whether you caught me kind of emphasizing that tonight's discussion, we're going to be taking a critical look at the Bible. It can go off on many tangents. Corey's already kind of introduced the concept of our laws being built off the back of the Bible, which we're going to delve into some more, kind of elaborate on what you were saying there. But what I do want to kind of preempt and encourage is for people to join the discussion, right? So as you can see scrolling along the bottom here of the screen, if you want to take part in the discussion this evening, I will be posting the link to the studio within the chat area, within the live chat facility, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and feel free to come onto the screen with me, Nathan and Corey, and join in the discussion. Yeah, make it more in depth. Yeah, add more fuel to the fire. That would be great. Okay.
That'd be good.
Exactly. So yeah, again, I'm pretty sure everyone's been introduced to enroute23.com, and the reason why I say .com is just to remind. Just look at the green part at the bottom where it's scrolling. Please use all of those avenues because there's more to this. there's a lot more to this that's going to be happening, and your contribution is going to help, not yourselves, but the many, the majority. So yes, let's continue on this. Now, Corey, what was you saying a moment ago, just as I jumped in?
I was basically talking about the whole in court and sort of swearing on the Bible if you're under oath, for example, in occasions, and how the UK judicial system and law system is literally built on Christian or biblical Bible-based references and beliefs of codes of practice and honor and law. I mean, some of the laws are quite obvious, like regarding sort of how to treat everybody else. Let's get a look at this list up. Regarding, say, some of the Ten Commandments, most people don't disagree with the Ten Commandments specifically, but most people, we don't really often look into or really keep in mind how these things are at the foundation of the laws, rights, and human rights of the peoples of this land. In fact, many other lands as well, if you think about it.
I'm with you. Now, that when you said about swearing on the Bible, let's just start there on a critical analysis. Watch this. There was a situation, and it's a sad situation. Obviously, we're going to roll with this organically today. There was a murder case, sad to say. It was within a congregation that I was in. The reason why I can openly speak about it, because it was open on the media. You know, you can access this. And there were witnesses that had to be involved in the situation. And it was someone that was in the congregation that was unfortunately murdered.
Oh gosh.
And certain people, they had to testify in the courtroom. And what you just said was key, because about swearing the Bible. The Bible itself, because I know there was a case where someone asked them to put their hand in the Bible and swear on it. And they read the scripture in the book of James. And I think it's James, James chapter 5 and verse something, if I can find it real quick. And it actually tells you, the scripture itself tells you, don't swear on it. And then they actually, obviously the court could not overrule it because of the jurisdiction. They can't overrule it, because how can you swear on the Bible when the Bible says don't swear on me? If the Bible's a human being, if anything, if they're saying swear on the Bible, but the Bible itself says don't swear on me, then don't swear on it. It's mentioned on multiple occasions. Watch this. Just give me a second. I'll find it real quick.
Can you bring something up?
This.
I'm also going to suggest, like, this would be a good stage to encourage people to, if they like, get their Bibles and have a look through the scripture alongside us. I think that might be nice. Yeah, I might go and grab my Bible, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
I've got the King James 1611. That's got more. I'll explain why I've got 80 books in mind. That we'll do that afterwards.
I'm gonna
go into the book of James. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. And I'll wait. So, guys, like, listen. This is as I say, it's a critical look at the Bible, and there's a lot out of all books, religious books. Let's call it that. Yeah. Actually, Corey.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Okay.
Name the 3 major religions on the face of this earth.
The 3. Oh, okay. That's say generally they would be called named as Judaism, Islam, Christianity. Generally, that's what I would say. Oh, you got a couple. Easy.
Well, so Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, innit?
Yeah. Easy.
All right. I've just noticed we have got a latency. So guys, you'll notice that there'll be a delay in everyone's response. Well, us, myself, Ms. Roots, and Corey, there's going to be a bit of delay or maybe an overlap in our talking because there is a latency issue. It always happens, we're not in control of the network that we're on. So yeah, just to add to that, Corey, we'll discuss that, and I know you know a lot about this as well. That all of those three major religions still reference the Bible, but they'll always critique it. So this is going to be a good subject that we're going to cover. There may be a part 2, 3, 4, 5 until death do us part, right? Because it is a subject, because there's so many translations and so many different things. So let's get to that part anyway about the book of James, chapter 5 and verse 12. This is the scripture that they used, that the guy used, I can't remember his name, but in the courtroom when they asked him to swear on the Bible. So
okay.
With that, it says, let you just say yes or no or no. That. So let's go to James chapter 5 and verse 12. So let me grab this real quick. Chapter 5 and verse 12. Watch this. It says, but above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your, let me read it again from the top, sorry, my bad. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation. So it's saying don't swear, like when people say, I swear on my daughter's life, swear on my mom's life, on my mom.
Yeah.
Don't do that to say yes or no, because what if you was unsure about the situation, but you swear because your bias has allowed you to be convinced that what you're saying is true. Imagine that. When people are convinced because they've got their own conjecture. And now you're like, oh, no, I'm sure it was him. I swear it was him. No, don't do it. Just say yes or no. Just keep it simple as that, because guess what? You could be mistaken. Like mistaken identity with us black people, for example. How often does that happen? Swears on that. Imagine, a bona fide Christian that swore on the Bible that this person was their perpetrator, but they got it wrong because of mistaken identity. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And they're gonna fall. So we've been given that warning. Don't do that, just in case you fall into condemnation. So the Bible itself tells you don't swear on it. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to jump in that part.
No, I agree. And I think if you follow the commandment, which is you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Yeah.
Then I think that we would that kind of fits into that whole narrative. If we're not bearing false witness, we're not lying. Essentially, that's what would be my interpretation of that commandment. As such, speak with truth and honesty. And so it's kind of already built into how we should be behaving and conducting ourselves every day. And
well, you've kind of touched on something I'm thinking here, because we've already jumped into laws and kind of with regards to not swearing on it. But I want to go a few steps backwards and just kind of establish why is the Bible so powerful? Yeah, and should we be following what it's saying? Why is the Bible such a powerful book? How has it become so powerful?
That's actually a really good question. That actually is a really good question.
Excellent.
When I hear that question,
I want to do. Just based on that question, that's why I want to have the discussion with you about when I asked you about the three major religions. So
yeah,
I've noticed that all three major religions always refer back to this. Even the Quran tells you when you're struggling or when you don't have understanding what's said in the Quran, it says to go here. It actually says that. Yeah, and I can get whilst you I'm gonna give you time to say something and off. It tells you in the Quran, it tells you to go back to the book of Old, which is before them, because the Islam came about in 1622 AD. So because they believe in the Torah. Like, for example, this is why they reference the Bible. They challenge Christians about the Comforter and the Comforter, and they talk about that Comforter being Muhammad. And the only time that Comforter is mentioned is in this book. And they will challenge Christians doing that, and they'll debate all day long. Like Speaker's Corner in London.
Yeah,
in Hyde Park, and they will have these mad debates, and they always ask the question, so who is the Comforter that the Bible's talking about? So therefore, they're continuously referencing the Bible. Therefore, it has a reference. It is a reference. Now, Judaism, they use the first 5 books the majority of the times, and also the Tanakh, the prophecies. They have it there. A lot of people have the problem with the New Testament. That's what it is, because this is where Christianity comes to play in. So imagine this book is the only book that's had multiple translations. Imagine this now. I've got the King James 1611 that's got 80 books. I've got the one that you'll find in every church that's only got 66. And then someone, I can't remember who gave me, this dude's in his this is an elder, Rastafari elder, he gave me this. He said I'd find more use. I would find more use than he did. This book is ridiculous. I've still got more in that smaller book. But imagine, I've just showed 3 books of the same Bible, right? Only one of them's got an extra 14 books, but we'll talk about that part. So going back to what Miss Roots is saying, what makes this book so powerful? So I'll leave it to you, bro.
Are we passing over to me now? Okay. So so basically, I'm just referencing the Prophet Muhammad, and how he does mention about basically referencing those who had scriptures before the Quran, and the truth that came to God previously. That's actually really interesting. Actually, I'm aware that in the Quran they do identify the prophets that are in the Bible, and they even acknowledge Jesus also. And I think what you mentioned previously about it really helps people sort of compound and unify, I think, some of this ideology, I would say, and some of these ideas and some of these beliefs. Pardon me. Because quite often it seems as in like they're opposing teams. And one thing that's really important for me and has been is that they're all from the seed of Abraham. So all these peoples are all from the seed of Abraham. And so it's a bit like having a father having 3 children, and then the 3 children may be squabbling or arguing or in conflict. And those have very different characters. But ultimately, in order for the family to work, the human family, you could say, they're going to have to coexist and cooperate in order for us to get the most out of our experience here. And so I think that's really interesting. So if you look, see if I can find it. It says actually Quran. It says 1094. Does indeed, it's in 1094, which is quite interesting actually. I'm gonna look it up again now.
So on the or just want to read it out?
So should I read it out? I can read it out if you want me to. Okay. If you, O Prophet, are in doubt about these stories that we have revealed to you, then ask those who read the scriptures before you. The truth has certainly come to you from your Lord, so do not So do not be one of those who doubt. And then it goes on a bit further. And this is from Surah Yunus. And I mean, I'm at 1094 at the moment.
Yep.
And so I think that's actually a really, really interesting point. I think far too often we see kind of opposing sides. And yes, there have been conflicts. Yes, there have been disagreements. I think that it's a shame because in many cases, there's been a lot more cooperation than there has been conflict. I think if you look at the whole timescale, there's been a lot more cooperation and coexistence than there has been conflict. And I think at the moment, we're in a situation where the whole sort of prophecy of being lost, confusion of tongues, is preventing us from essentially uniting and really getting the most out of this experience and the most out of our life here on Earth, if I'm totally honest.
Well, you know what? Thank you for saying that, actually. So you said lost the tongues, in it. So do you remember that? Obviously, you're talking about the Tower of Babel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tower of Babel.
That's okay. Yeah.
All right. So do you remember what was happening prior to the confusion of tongues?
Okay. Remind me. I remember that there was a lot of.
Everyone was on one accord.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, everyone spoke one language. Everyone's
but then someone decided to, basically, let's put it in my terms. Someone took fast, yeah, and wants to build up a tower, yeah, up to heaven in it. Someone took fast, and I thought, you know what, this ain't gonna happen like that because this is it. Basically, humans cannot play God, so they're trying to reach somewhere beyond their measures. So the only way, so obviously, the higher power said, you know what, let's just block up their language and confuse their tongues. So this is where the dispersion and dispensation of languages came about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but how much of that is literal?
Well, I've got an example. I've got an example of that actually. So we hear often about previous civilization and previous technology. I'm not going to go into the evidence for that specifically, although there is much evidence for that. What I will go into is where we are right now and how we're playing God right now. So right now, for example, the COVID jab wasn't a usual type of jab where it exposed you to sort of a dormant version of the cells that your body could easily create antibodies for. It was an RNA, DNA editing type of vaccine, which means that this exposure to this medicine was intended to go in and make adjustments in our DNA. So let's clarify. So most modern vaccines now are being utilized in a DNA adjustment and editing fashion. There are other elements of, say, DNA editing, you could say, or DNA manipulation that's happening in the world at the moment. I mean, we know about the whole cloned sheep situation. I think we know about that from a while ago, which again, this is us messing with genes and genetics in a way that I'm not sure if actually we should be messing with. If you look at plants and animals right now, we'll put animals, but plants and how we're genetically modifying plants in all sorts of ways to do all sorts of things. There are even experiments where they have monkeys, some small primates, and some cats, and we've basically adjusted their DNA so they have bioluminescence. So essentially, they glow in the dark. We have been messing with animals so that we have glow in the dark pets. And I know, no. And that aside, if you look at
carry on.
So I mean, at that point there, where we're making animals that are glow in the dark for our amusement, it surely is a sign that we've gone a bit too far. At the point at which we're manufacturing food, in some cases, there's been attempts to manufacture food that has built-in pesticides, which means that it creates essentially its own poison and toxin for insects that otherwise it wouldn't have done. In other areas of, say, the whole prophecy regarding the Tower of Babel, we are literally manipulating weather. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in some parts of the world, they choose what day it rains. And often it's a Friday. I'm joking, but places like Middle East and Dubai, for example, they choose a Friday for it to rain. On separate accounts, there are we'll say empires at this point, empires, civilizations that are building ski resorts in the desert. And 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 in the same time we're building like not deserts, but we're building beaches in Birmingham as well. So no, I'm joking there, but like we're building beaches in Birmingham. Frankly, we don't always get the sun that we need. But in some places in the world, they are literally manipulating the weather so that they can choose whether it's sunny, whether it's raining, whether the snow falls. You guys get ready for it. Go on, let me go to the scripture.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and 2. All right. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25.
Okay.
So we're talking about, so a lot of people, anyone that's biblically inclined, especially those of the Jehovah's Witnesses, they like to speak on the prophecies. And they talk about the rulers of this earth, the evil rulers of this earth. So I'm going to start from verse 24 and I'll read into 25. And it says, and these the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and others shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first and shall subdue 3 kings. That's talking about the people that were of the Most High. So let's go to verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, meaning going against what the Most High believe, what we're supposed to be going for. So the Most High knows how weather's supposed to be ordained, how the season's supposed to be ordained, how life's supposed to be ordained, all that. So let me read verse 25 in its entirety. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, meaning putting the saints, wear them out, making us, how can I say, making those saints, those that are inclined to seek God, the Most High, making them worn out, tired, depressed. And watch this part. It's the Most High, and will think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and a times and a dividing of time. I will break that down for you. So why is it that when the earth here, does it ever slow down 1 hour and speed up 1 hour any time of the year?
Technically,
it goes
no.
in the same
So
pace, why does the clocks go forward and back? Same pace. You don't change. So the clocks go forward and back.
Do you know how many cultures find that to be completely bizarre that we change our clocks for like daylight saving back and forward?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with that place over there in England? I'm joking.
There you go. So, and the dividing of time, when they do all these leap years and all that stuff as well, and they just say, "All right, let's just change this." So it's all pre-written. So this is where, again, guys, we have to have a critical look at the Bible, because it is argumentative. We can argue. If anything, you know what would have been really cool, guys, is if we had a theologist in here. I would love one here right now, because they would dissect it the same way. Do you guys agree that we could have a theologist that's actually studied, on an academic level?
Yeah, I agree.
What I've always found
Go on.
interesting is I think people are scared to critique the Bible because to a Christian, this is blasphemy, right? So it's almost like a trap, isn't it? That, okay, just do as it says and do not argue with it, right? Do not challenge the words of the Bible. The same with the Quran. Try and get a Muslim to critically look at the Quran is very difficult. They tend not to challenge because it's the word of God, right? So I suppose to an Orthodox Christian or an Orthodox Muslim right now, we are blasphemous, right? Because we are challenging some of the words of God, so to speak, right? But you already touched on it earlier, Nathan, that the Bible has been revised over and over and over again. I mean, the version I have here is the King James version. This week is a Shakespeare week, right? So I've been kind of immersed in what's going on there with the TV programs and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so at the time when Shakespeare was writing, King James was on the throne, right, in his latter years. And if you haven't watched it, BBC iPlayer, I will put it out there, right? There's a whole documentary on the life of Shakespeare. It's really amazing, yeah? And there is a part within the documentary that tells us a bit about King James when he revised the Bible, and also his interests in witchcraft. And actually,
terminology.
He wasn't.
Oh, that terminology.
Right, he wasn't actually a great king. He didn't actually care about the kingdom, right? He wasn't. He had his own interests.
Go on. I think there's some great points there.
I'll let you well.
So
you go first, Corey.
With that is this actually the word of God, right?
Okay.
Are we allowed to critique it? Because is it
actually?
Yes, we are.
Actually, we are. So there are some things I've got ready for y'all. As such, 1 second. I'm going to put through in the private chat right now. And on that note, regarding
yes, you can share, of course. I'm going to post this.
You know, bro. You see what you just put there?
Yep.
Yeah, share that. Go for it, bro. This is organic. It's like this is how we're supposed to be doing it.
This is right. I mean, I cannot emphasize how authenticity and realness is important to the platform. So go with it. Do you want me to post these up into the main comments as well for public to have a look?
Well, I think it depends.
Do you know what? To be honest, actually, wait.
Because you know, on the Babel thing, there's 2 points because you went a bit fast for me. There's 2 points I want to make. One is about the whole what we're told about James, because believe it or not, I'm going to start with. I want to start first of all with. Okay, one thing at a time. Can I go back to the Babel thing for a sec?
Of course.
Is it okay if I share my screen to show you an example of how far we've got regarding playing God? I mean, obviously, we're aware of suborbital space flights. We're aware of us drilling from oil in the oceans. But this example here is for educational and critique purposes only. Should give you a little bit more of an example of how far we've came. The example I'm about to show is more than a decade old. So it ain't nothing new. I will also mention the whole CERN collider as well while we're on this topic, and how we're splitting atoms.
Yeah.
Splitting atoms to find the so-called God particle.
Right.
But this example here is a bit more pop culture and it should be good fun. Let me get it up for y'all. 1 sec. And I'll share my screen with you. 1 sec. So present. Share screen.
Yeah, Miss Roots, she'll give you the confirmation. You know how it rolls, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can. Here we go.
Okay. You ready?
Let's go. My apologies. I went full screen and then it disappeared. So let me just okay. Let me restart that for you.
That's Jeremy Clarkson.
Indeed. So because of the latency, I'm watching it online also. So I'm waiting for it to flick back, and then we're going to play this again. And this is us talking about humans playing God.
We can't hear Jeremy Clarkson talk. There's no volume. You're on mute, Corey.
Which was generated by the engine. It's just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen.
Can you hear it now?
Water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. That cloud up there, which was
So I'm going to flick it back.
possibly conceived, and as it turns out, the cleanest.
Yeah, go from the top again.
Okay, we're going to go from the top. So it's currently showing a type of water-based engine.
Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. I told you.
Wow. You see, and
Yeah,
Jeremy Clarkson was looking very young there, right? So you can see
Exactly.
that experiment was conducted probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Oh wow!
It's not that old, but yeah, yeah.
You see my point?
For it to be validated. Yeah, for it to be validated now, that's what I'm saying. They've got like I was talking to someone the other day about you know when. Sorry, let me just move this down here. When you've got, you know, like things which are been endorsed by the military.
Yeah.
And then you got the commercial, and you got the domestic.
Yeah.
So imagine that was 10 years ago. That was practiced probably more than 10 years ago, as Miss Roots was saying. That's what I'm saying. An endorsement came because they could not put that on the media until it was endorsed.
Mm. Well,
So
on that note, you know the Vietnam War.
Go on, sir.
If you know the Vietnam War, if you ever watched Forrest Gump,
yeah.
The Vietnam War, it's all that rainfall, it's all like marshing. Well, post Vietnam War, documents have been released that the US created that rainfall and tsunami. This can be referenced. I'll probably show you if you want me to. So let's clarify: the US Army used rainfall as a weapon during the Vietnam War.
Do you know what? Just give me an idea. I'm gonna put something. No, wait. Let's. You can put a little bit up here, but I'm just gonna send you something real quick to our chat here.
Okay.
Just carry on anyway. Keep talking. But we need to stay on the subject.
Do you have a date on when Clarkson published that footage?
Well, that actually was part of a BBC, actually official BBC show, and last time I checked, it was about 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Was it Top Gear though?
Definitely more than a decade. Certainly more than a decade.
Wow.
No, but was it on Top Gear? I'm pretty sure it was on Top Gear, you know.
I think it was like a side show. It could have been featured on Top Gear as well. As far as I'm aware, it was a side show, and so that that device, which was pumping out all that water vapor, is a type of NASA water-based engine. So they said they were testing it for clean energy purposes. And the side effect they realized the side effect was that it created clouds, like literally created clouds. And so please bear in mind that he said they have the military purpose, then they have sort of commercial and domestic. Documents have been released now, so we know that they used this type of cloud seeding. It's called cloud seeding, the official scientific term. They used this type of cloud seeding technology during the Vietnam War to try and sort of like essentially to flood them out, kind of thing, and make the terrain as uninhabitable for them as it was for the army's soldiers going in. And so cloud seeding isn't a new thing at all. And like you said, it was like, when was the Vietnam War? Let me just set the Vietnam War date for the Vietnam War. Okay, so that was like 1955. And 1975. Okay. So that's gosh. So 1955 to 1975. That's some time ago. So then again, so like that video there that was shot, say around said it also like about 14 years ago it was said to have been released. So we're in 2023 now, 75. Yeah, that kind of meets with the whole sort of 30-year sort of delay process from military application.
Because it's 25 years between the military and when it becomes commercialized. It's like computer games and all that stuff, how they use that.
The internet,
so, yeah,
like the internet, right?
Exactly. They were on it, like hologram technology, like, I mean, like touching the air, like, you know, holograms. Imagine I've got like a screen that's just there, like it's being projected, and I can just do all this stuff. Do you remember those movies in like those? We was watching in the 90s, but then they made the movies based in the 1970s. But we watched those movies in the 90s. You see that?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like they make it like, you know, it's current at that time, but it's not that they've been well before. So is this like a proven or a potential proven point about how technology has been around, just even with the evidence, well before we knew? So if anything, there's someone, and I have to say right here, I know we're on the subject on a critical look at the Bible. I need to talk to you guys about there's one guy that I really need to get up on this live. I think he's based in Northampton, and he's heavy on the Tartarians at the moment. So let's just keep that. I'm saying this here on the live so it's anchored so I don't forget.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So let's keep taking a critical look.
Just going back to what you were saying though. So we were linking that to the Tower of Babel, right?
Yeah.
I asked, but was the Tower of Babel the story a literal story? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or I mean, it kind of evolved into us playing God, and hence why, you know, the disperse happened and the different tongues occurred. But are we to take that story literally? Because to me, it just seems a little bit too simplistic, you know?
Good question, you know, Miss Roots, because they said they wanted to build a tower all the way up to heaven. Apparently, I don't even know if this is right or wrong, but there's been some archaeological evidence that someone tried to build a big tower. You know, like skyscrapers, for example, and all that stuff. I'm not sure if that has any like relevance to it, because there's a scripture in the book of Obadiah. Let me grab that. And it says, you try to set your nest across the stars. People like to have the penthouse in a building to feel like the high and mighty. They're up there, but they're only doing that from an image perspective.
So the reason why I asked that is because from what I can see with language, right?
Yeah.
It has a seed, doesn't it? It has an etymological root, doesn't it? And depending on culture, so it just seems a little bit too simplistic that one day we were all speaking the same language, and then because we didn't adhere to the laws of God, the next day we started all talking in different tongues. Like the nature doesn't.
Okay, I'm with you.
Show me that. Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on like, did that automatically just happen? Like, okay, we're all trying to find. Yeah. Well, the reason why I can say I can't give you that answer is because I wasn't there. That's the only answer. Yeah. Now, if I was to throw conjecture in there, which, listen, hold me accountable, I'm live, right? My name's Nathan Israel and I'm live on Roots. Hold me accountable. If I was to calculate everything, why would there be a dispersion of language or a confusion of language? The only way I could say is beyond my control. That's like me saying, how did one create the oxygen that we breathe? So I'm there. I'm stuck in that stalemate, so I can't really answer that.
Yeah, well, this is me critiquing the Bible, right?
Yeah, it's a good one, though.
Right. It doesn't, the nature doesn't show me that, right? The nature doesn't show me that happens in such.
It could have happened over time. And you know why I would think that? Oh, now you've got me. Well, oh gosh, love you, sis. Right? Is this over time? Imagine, like when you got a team. Imagine everyone in a team was supposed to have equal rights, but you get that one person in the team that wants to do this and wants to do that and wants to do this and that and the third. Other people they have their own agenda. Now, I've got this. I want to team up with you. There's about 12 of us in the room, but we need to get something going. Like, make some form of success. I don't agree with this person over there or that person over there or there, but I agree with you. I'm like, all right, but we all speak the same language. I'm like, Miss Roots, I need to communicate with you a certain way without other people knowing. I'm going to speak to you in code. Let's make our own little language. Let's try and do this, that, and the third. Like, let me do some secret. Like, so let's do this and that. Like, kind of being conniving.
Yeah, but we did that. Like, if you think about our generation, then, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but where I come from, we created this back slang, right?
Yes.
So it's a very working class council estate thing to do, right? But apparently it comes from the prisons originally. But us teenagers, we learn how to speak back slang and disguise the conversation from our parents, etc., etc. So it is English, but we've put a twist on it so the adults couldn't understand what we were saying, right? So to me, this is a natural occurrence of how the tongues occurred, right?
Yes. All right, cool. So, I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, and thank you for jogging. Yeah, wisdom's a feminine term as well. Thank you for jogging the wisdom. All right, Corey, did you listen before you jump back in?
So, not the part about the Tower of Babel, and should we take it literally? And then I got the part just a minute ago about how we use backslang in order to conceal our conversations. So you might have to fill the gap in between there. Sorry.
All right, nice. Thank you for saying that, because Miss Roots helped me with this one as well. She smashed it, because a lot of things that happen here, what's written, we do it so it didn't happen that way literally. I want to come to a heavy conclusion after this year. Like, we need a few more, but I've already got something fixated here, but I don't want to run on that dissonance, that fixed dissonance with it.
I've got a comment.
We are those in it. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, bro. Say again.
So I've got some comments about James, which I think connects into this situation quite a lot. About
James,
how it was written, what was written the way it was, and some of the controversies around the whole sort of translation of it. And there's a lot more happening in that story than you'd imagine. A lot more, believe it or not, a lot more. But you're going to carry on first, and I can talk afterwards if you like. I just want me to interject now, and then you can say after. It's up to you.
All right. No, I'm going to do this part, because what Miss Roots just said is basically, according to the prophecies, and I've already noticed this for a minute, is letting us know let's say the gods and goddesses in us, speaking about us, how we've performed what's been written. Basically, we're the ones that changed the language as human beings. There's only been one lawful language on the face of this earth. There was no French term to how to make the world, no Spanish term, or no Hebraic term. We don't know that term or that word that was spoken when the earth was created. We weren't there. But all that stuff from the Tower of Babel, that was humanity. So we're the ones that did it. We're the ones that changed the language.
Yeah, I think, good point. And I think we're also the ones that brought down the world too. And so if you talk about hydrogen colliders, messing with the weather, building your own islands, putting snow in deserts. The Earth can have to balance that, and it's going to react to it and create and go back to its own equilibrium. When that happens, we're going to say it's natural disaster. But actually, it's the Earth just rebalancing how God intended, how nature intended.
Thank you. Like
nature intended, how nature intended.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you see, when you talk, like, I don't know about you guys, but when something sits right with your spirit, it's a feeling, right? So for me, that sits right with me. For me, that's God. For me, that makes sense, right? The whole Tower of Babel story in its literal sense doesn't sit right with me. Don't make sense. But when you talk about humans creating that situation, we did it. In essence, we are gods, right? That sits with me a little bit more comfortably because I can see that in the nature. I have thought I can see that evidence in the nature.
So before we move on, let's just get that part in the Tower of Babel, so we can just move on that real quick, because it actually bangs. So one thing that happened here was confound. 1 second, I've got this. It's in Genesis. So imagine that your conscience. Now, I said earlier, like as an example, I want to team up with Miss Roots here so we can get a job done without the other team knowing what I'm going. All right. So I'm going to read from Genesis 11, verse 5. Okay, let's start from, let's just get the whole thing. Genesis 11 and 1. And it says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. It's a good land, this is all in that's our land anyway. And it came to pass, let me refrain that. That's the land that is at war right now. And they said one to another, go to, let us make a brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build a city and tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So imagine trying to make, someone's on the ground floor and they want to go all the way up to the top. Why would they want to go up there? Let's find out why. Because there's this key things that happens here. And I want to just clock it in this conversation. Verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. Now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. When something's not restrained, there's no law. When there's no law, there's chaos. It's like if there was no, like how the law is. Yeah, exactly. Anarchy, there's chaos, So imagine the true law of the Most High, like anything that we could do as humanity. We like viruses now, we like parasites. That's exactly what was noticed. And it says, go to, let us go down and there confound their language. Now it seems like some angels have come down to make us not be able to speak right, what me and Miss Roots are talking about. Now let's think about it properly, like critically in a minute. So I'm going to read verse 7 again. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel or Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Now, those are the generations, if you read onwards, these are the generations of Shem, Shemites, Semitic Semites. Where do they reside right now? Semitic,
all
what
over
we
the
call
world.
anti-Semitism, Shemitics. That's who they are. It's just because there's a speech impediment between the S and the SH. That's all it
Well,
is.
actually, there's that. Oh, but the people of Shem are scattered pretty much all over the world, I'd say.
Oh yeah, of course, like
You
China,
know what?
Japan, Jamaica. Well, the Israelites basically, because the descendants of Shem are Israel.
Everywhere. I want to know about the thingy. So, are you guys aware of the Great Vowel Shift?
Oh gosh, I was supposed to go on. Can you expound?
So,
I've got an email on that.
So,
A
let me just find out the date.
doctorate.
So, the Great Vowel
a
Shift
doctorate.
took place between the
mute myself,
14 and 17th, well, between 1400 and 1700. So, and what that sort of depicts is that, you know how there's a lot of confusion regarding, how we pronounce words and what the connecting vowels are between a word. Well, we know historically something was enacted that resulted with what's called now the Great Vowel Shift, and that essentially changed how we pronounce words drastically. It changed where we pronounced A's, O's, U's, I's, and that's why if you look at modern language and previous languages, they're often pronounced very, very differently, even English. And this affected English heavily also as a new forming language at the time. So the Great Vowel Shift had a huge part, I would say, to play in how we interpret new words. You can change the vowel in words, and then the word itself may be more similar to a completely separate concept. So, for example, I'm just playing devil's advocate here a little bit, but the term say bot or bat, for example, I'll just spell it on bot or bat. Now, a bot's generally something that's considered to be like an AI-based or electronic-based assistant for the internet. A bat is, of course, it's an animal, but through changing the vowel sound itself, just that one sound change can have a huge impact. And the whole sort of, you know, how we pronounce there and vo and oo in English, that's all part of the vowel change also. And if you look at, say, English, UK English, and American English, tomato, tomato, aluminum, aluminium, these are all, again, consequences and sometimes remnants of that very same thing. It's not like the people that came from England to the America just decided to change the where they said it all of a sudden. No, there was a vowel shift happening at the time, and certain groups who were migrating did so with certain language vocabulary and certain, vowel sets, you could say. So it's called the Great Vowel Shift. And that had a huge impact on how we pronounce language. So to bring you back to King James for a moment, I'm going to reference reference Henry VIII here because I think it's going to be quite fun. Because often when we think about what we're told about kings and royalty, isn't always as accurate as it should be. And so we kind of see them as being completely almighty and powerful. And they have a lot of power, they do, but they also have a lot of vulnerabilities as well. And so what I'm going to talk about here now is King Henry VIII and some of his vulnerabilities. I think we all know the story about, beheaded, married, divorced, and we told a lot about some of his attributes and some of the things that he did. What we're not told about is that all kings have advisors. Yeah. And so all those acts that we're talking about here that he's demonized for, he did not decide upon himself. I'm sure Nathan will come back shortly. And so if you look at the records, King Henry VIII had advisors for everything, as most kings do. They have a council. King Henry VIII had advisors for his love life. We might not know this, but I do apologize in advance for anybody that's underage, whatever, but it's past the time right now. Is that Henry VIII had sex advisors. Not only did he have sex advisors, he had advisors that gave him certain drugs for the act. Drugs for sleeping, drugs trying to deal with say gluttony or overeating, and drugs to try and bring on a certain gender also. So he was being given certain substances to try and get a boy.
Right.
And so the reason why I'm mentioning this fact is because if we envision him as being an almighty person and not having vulnerabilities, and we don't consider the fact that actually he was doped up and drugged up most of his day, and the more that he persisted to try and gain a boy or a child, the more experimental, the more extreme the means became. So if you can imagine not sleeping without certain drugs, or not waking up without certain drugs, not having sex without certain drugs, and not having drugs on top of that to try and get a certain gender of child, all these things have a huge impact on how an individual is, and it also can make them vulnerable and more malleable to influence and manipulation.
Okay. So, but how
So-
does this link to King James? So I
Well,
see your
okay,
point.
good point. Okay, so King James, now sort of like around the times of the Act of Union, bearing in mind that they were trying to unify Britain, King James was appointed. Regarding the translation of the Bible, there are many people who are actually against the translation of the Bible for the common people. And when I say the common people, a lot of the common people may or may not, I will say at the moment, have been the people the book was talking about. And so the people that had religious, often Sephardic Jews, believe it or not, and just so you know, King Henry VIII enacted the Act of Egyptians, which is basically, it was an act to try and remove, gypsies, Egyptians from Britain. I think it was like 90, I think it was like 80s. I don't quote the date right now, but there's lots of there are a lot more people in Britain than we believe it was. During the translation process, remember King James didn't translate it himself. There was a council of translators or scholars doing so.
Yeah.
And
49 and plus another 12, or to be according to records, yes, 49 plus another 12. And there were Hebrew, Latin, and Greek scholars that did the translation. So you know when people say King James wrote the 1611 Bible, that's not true. He did not write it, he translated it. And this is where the misconstruction comes into play. Now, you just said a lot of good, correct stuff there. So, is it okay if I expound at this point?
Yeah, sure.
Only because I went over to Edinburgh and I did a lot of research on this, and like me, and you know what? If we really want to talk about King James, I would love to on another occasion as well. And Corey, all of us here, we need to do this part because this is maybe, you know, like a dark area where, like a missing piece to a puzzle. Let's put it that way. So with King James, yes, he ordained 49 scholars plus, and then he had it proved by another 12 scholars, academic scholars during that time to translate the Bible. Because obviously, when you use an ancient text, it's very difficult because what happens when you got root words and etymology, you like what word could fit there? It's like kind of that thing, and this is where the misconstruction come to place. Like for example, did I pull that one down from here? Oh, for example, we got, you know about Zondervan, innit?
Continue, yeah.
Right. So this is the Bible dictionary. So not a dictionary like, this is a Bible dictionary. So it talks about words where you might think it means.
That's not me.
That's
not me.
It must be Corey. He's put himself on mute now. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So we got the Zondervan. So we got the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. So there's words that you might think in the Bible. It's all right. It's all right. So there's words that you might think that's in the Bible, how you'd reference, with the normal dictionary. Like, for example, the word virgin, this, that, and the third. However, let's just get here. So let me give you a bit of history on what happened with King James. So King James, he was King James the Sixth of Scotland. And then he became King James the First of England. I think it was in the 1601, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can just Google it, guys, to correct me. But there's actually, prior to that, there's certain things that even what people are celebrating over here in the UK, and it's not long happened actually this month. So King James, I'm going to type this, guys. King James became King of England. So King James the First. I just want to get it right first. Reign. There we go. And yeah, 1603. So just after the 1600s. This is why the United Kingdom is called the United Kingdom, because he was King James the Sixth of Scotland, and he was born in Edinburgh Castle through his mother was Mary Queen of Scots. Edinburgh Castle is beautiful, guys. If you ever get the time to visit there, it's a beautiful place, and there's a lot of stuff and tapestry surrounding what happened there. But anyways, let's get to the nitty-gritty. England and Scotland. So if you've ever watched that movie Braveheart, I think who was it that played in that, Miss Roots? Was it Mel Gibson? Yeah, things like that. So, you know, there's a quote in there: "You never take our, you can take our lives, but you never take our freedom." You know, that things like that. There's certain quotes which have a subliminal thing. So let's get back into it. So the United Kingdom was when Scotland and England actually united, and it was via King James. And the country, the whole kingdom, was Protestant. In 1603, obviously, he was appointed King of England, King James I. And then what happened, this is how the King James Bible came about, is the Bible was not allowed in public areas. You wasn't allowed to have the Bible in your households. You could not sit with the Bible in your house. So the only way that could have been ordained is via the king. That's why they had to call it the King's Bible. So the only way that had to happen is from 1604 to 1611, King James got 49 scholars to translate from the original Hebrew, Latin text, and Greek text as well, into English, the language that everyone was speaking, to make it easy for everyone to understand. Okay, so that's what happened. And when that was ordained and he made it the King's Bible, the King James Bible, he did not change or do anything to it. He just needed translators. And that's what happened. Once it was happy, everyone was understood with it. That's why it became the King James 1611 Bible, because that's when it was completed and was put out there so people could have it in their households. Now, why was it, we'll get to this part, why was it from Hebrew, Latin, and Greek? Because in the Bibles that most of you people have 66 books, which is Hebrew and Greek. Why not Latin? Because there were 14 books. You can go into King James 1611 online to find out the information on that, to why it was removed. There's 14 books, they call it the Apocrypha. And that's like the missing piece of the puzzle in the Bible. So anywho, let's fast forward. Well, sorry, let's go back to where I was coming from. So there's a thing. So King James was a Protestant. And in between 1604 to 1611, during the translation, something tragic happened in England. And it was in 1605. Okay? And it was November the 5th, 1605, where there was a guy called Guido, or if you know in England, called Guy Fawkes.
Oh gosh, because I jump in there. Okay, so I do apologize. I think it's probably worth me putting my 2 pence in on this one because it's a bit personal to me because that story is talking about my ancestors, believe it or not. So not Gardo Fort,
Okay.
but do you know who the other accused were?
Pardon?
Do you know who the other accused
Oh, the other.
were?
Yeah, there's a few others that got hung, drawn, and quartered. Yeah. I don't remember the names.
Okay, well, John Winter, Thomas Winter, and I believe Robert Winter. Okay, now I want to say in defense of the family, I'm joking. Now in defense,
no, you can, but you got to remember you can't be accountable fully for what happened.
Well, some people, yeah, I do. But what I want to say is that there are many things that are misinterpreted or not completely accurate to the evidence. So one of the things that are probably worth noting is that the confession of Thomas has at least 3 edits. So Thomas Winter. So the confession of Thomas Winter has at least 3 edits. So there was maybe a clergyman who maybe edited it.
One of the clergymen. Actually, you know what? Prior to this, Corey, real quick.
Okay.
Let's get the synopsis of what happened first.
Sure, because that's the most important thing. But I was going to say that there was the reason why this is important.
What I'm saying, is what happened. Well, what's been put out with the gunpowder plot thing.
Okay, of course.
Do that. All right. So before I lose, because obviously what will happen with me, I don't jump in what you're saying rather than getting back to the point. So anchor that, please, bro.
Sure.
All right, cool. So, what happened during the translation process? There was a guy called people know as Guy Fawkes. So the reason why, let me get to the point where why people celebrate so-called bonfire night. Yeah, so that's what I was getting to.
Sure.
Yeah, right, cool. So he was translating, he was in the Parliament House, innit? So he was in the House of Parliament doing the translation. So I'm going through what the records were saying, what was happening.
Yeah, sure.
So during that time, he was going through the translations, and so from 1604 to 1611. So in 1605, apparently, some people had a plot to stop that from happening because, as you were saying earlier, people did not want this Bible to be out there. So this made a plot. They wanted to blow up the House of Parliament during that time. And then who was in there at the time? King James the First, in his first year. So the first thing they wanted to do is make sure that what he was as a Jacobite, as is announced to be, to translate it. So whoever was with, this is a part where you're going to kick in a minute to explain more, because obviously you've done a lot of research. So after this now, they what happened when they did the plot, there was an intel letting King James know that someone's about to blow you up whilst you're in the midst in the room the Bible. And then obviously he went with the plot. They got caught down in that basement, with all that gunpowder and all that stuff, and then they got caught. They got tested in court, whatever. Well, they already knew they got caught. Then they got, was it hung, drawn, and quartered?
Well,
according to history.
That's so. I won't get to that point in a second because, believe it or not, records show different things happening, and so we'll get into that in a second. But continue first of all. So continue that first of all.
All right. So obviously now that happened in 1605. So I'll be done in about the next 20 seconds.
That's cool.
So
that's cool.
No, that was the point basically. So just to give an idea of the translation and what happened during the translation, which it ties in some part of history, but we know history's been fabricated so much, because when you look at, for example, if I was to look at a picture of King James, like if I was typing King James right now, I'm not going to see the image of how he'd be described as a Jacobite. So this is where our critical confidence here needs to come into play, where we have to be confident to be able to criticize. Hang on, you just said about Winters, I've just seen it. right? So you have more intel than I do, and on the people, the ancestors of the people that were sitting with Guy Fawkes right now. Do you know what I'm saying, my bro?
So
Go on.
So there's much contention regarding the whole Gallardo Fawkes and the whole sort of or the idea of a Fawkes guy. If you know what the word Fawkes fur means or Fawkes hair means, and what the word guy means, i.e. in man, then the idea of a Guy Fawkes or a Fawkes guy may present different ideas. The reason why this is really crucial is because I wasn't expecting to get into this, by the way. I wasn't, but I've done genealogy and
talk about King James in it,
and it's in literal records, and so it's probably worth noting that they were all family, and King James was under heavy pressure himself to appease the people after the Act of Union and trying to unify Britain. Regarding the confessions, it's known that Thomas Winter's confession had many adjustments made that weren't Thomas himself and had different signatures. So how he signed when he went into prison was not the same signature when he came out of prison, specifically Thomas Winter and others. What's also brought into contention, I would say, is that actually there are records that they took their own ship. Well, there were two ships actually, two of them on one on another, and some were passengers, and they went to the North Americas. I'm joking.
I have a question about that. You know what? Sorry to even interject.
Go, carry on.
Just small things like this is just one small thing here. You know, like when someone like only because I was in a lecture about this, about handwriting. You said his signature is different from when he was in to when he came out,
and spelled differently. Right. And it was spelled differently too. So they misspelled. They spelled it. They changed the spelling of it.
Who changed it?
Well, this is exactly.
There exactly. You go. All right. This is why there's certain things which are negatable in these situations. This is why, like, even when you said, like, when I was explaining the whole gunpowder plot thing, which is now led up to Bonfire Night, which everyone celebrates on November the 5th and all that, right? Yeah. I know there's room for you to say certain things. So when you said about the signature part, what if that person could write well, but then over time they develop Parkinson's, just as an example? It's only because I was in a lecture about things like that. So there's certain negatable things. This is why we have to be critical with the Bible. The only thing that I can tie up with is what happened in history. And all right, cool, slavery happened, it's written there, this and that and the third.
Well, let me explain Let me step there. So let me explain some of the relevance to the sort of, they were said to have been executed, but actually records show them being on their own ships, two on one ship, one on another ship with many passengers. They went to the North Americas. After that, they were pursued in the North Americas. Many people, there were wars, many were enslaved, many were shipped down to the islands and other parts, for example, where they worked, which is part of we know that the Jacobites were shipped out. The rest of the Jacobites were cleared out by Cromwell after this. I've got another famous family member, Sir John Winter, who was on hot pursuit from parliamentary forces, and he leapt over what's known as now Winter's Leap, and went to his uncle's castle, Raglan Castle, and in order to evade them. The legend goes that he leapt off the mountain with a Pegasus, he flew, and so on, and many other legends. But what actually happened was that, knowing the land, there was a concealed passageway that would lead down the mountain safely. And so essentially, he was riding his horse, down essentially a concealed passageway onto the riverbank, ran up across to Raglan Castle, and then the parliamentary forces ran to the edge of the cliff, not knowing really how he got down all that way across the water to the other side. And then legends were like, he must have flew. And it's called Winter's Leap. That part of Wales is called Winter's Leap. And so there's a lot of... You what, sorry?
No, I've heard of that Raglan Castle as well. Yeah.
Okay. That's Manchester, though. That's Manchester. Yep. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of history behind my family and trying to essentially fight for the freedoms of Britain. And so what isn't known much is that when Britain was colonized, which is kind of invisible colonization, so they don't really conceal it. That gave them the lawful rights to grants to other businesses or lands that existed outside of Britain. So, regarding the case of so, when Parliament took over in many cases, they was able to seize lands from many of the old nobles, old royals, and so bearing in mind that in previous times there were many royals. I could say a land would have many kings. Well, Britain had many kings. Now we have one king to unify them all, and same as like with James. Before that, there were many kings in smaller areas, and it was more clan based, more tribal based, and the areas were much smaller. And then there was a unification happening. When this event happened, for example, so they were said to have been dead. That then allowed people to claim their deeds and their land in Britain and also overseas. That provided a lot of wealth and justification for some of the things that happened in the Americas initially, i.e., stating that we are now lawful and have legal ownership over certain farms, certain land. And my family were not colonizers in that manner. They had family in the Americas, technically. They were married in. And so they had a joint venture, you could say, and they were there long before colonization, I would say. Also worth noting that they were in the North Americas, but they were also in taking part in some activities regarding South America too. And there's another ancestor of mine who brought back something called winter's bark, and that is it's called Drumus winteri, the Latin name. And have you ever heard of like winter spice? Or like winter mulled wine, or that kind of like spice that comes around in winter,
No.
sort of that orange and cinnamon spice.
Yeah, mulled wine.
Okay, well, like that
Yeah,
winter
it's
spice.
actually very nice. Actually, I do like mulled wine. It's actually nice.
Okay, well, that was formulated in part.
But now the thing is, what was the name? Sorry, there's a latency. I know I heard you speaking a lot more before I asked. What is the etymology or a more ancient word of winter?
Oh, Gwyntor.
Like where did winter come from? The word
Gwyntor. So this is where it gets really interesting. So essentially, Gwyntor is a Welsh, an ancient Welsh term. It has connections with ancient Egyptian. Don't ask me that. I've showed you the book before previously about how ancient Welsh can translate Egyptian hieroglyphs, and so it's an ancient Welsh term.
All right.
And so it's like one of the ancient Gaelic or Celtic language sets.
All right, cool.
Okay. So just to, if it's okay, let me interject there, because it's all very interesting, and I like the way things go off on a natural tangent. Yeah, I do like that. But just to rein it in a little bit, because this all sparked off the back of us talking about King James, right?
Yeah.
And the history around King James and what was going on in the UK when King James was on the throne. I just think it's worth highlighting that the reason why there is an emphasis on King James is because as Black people, we tend to gravitate to his version of the Bible, right? Yes. So to me, I find that quite interesting. Of all the versions of the Bible across the Caribbean and across the continent of Africa, we draw for the King James version. So all of that history is all very relevant, very important, but still I ask, why the King James Bible? Why?
Okay, so if we think about sort of what was happening in the time in Europe and colonization was happening, people spoke many languages in those times. Often there was like a lingua franca, they would say, a French, like a dialect, like a Basque dialect in Britain, as well as like Celtic and Cymraeg or Welsh. There were other language sets too, and Old English. Colbran, I believe it's called Old English. When Britain was taken over, you could say, or it was, or parliaments were established here, and the colonization happened, the version of the Bible that had been created by their closest kin, which of course King James was a swarthy guy himself. Have you ever seen his wife, who created the play The Mask of Blackness?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just to even add to that, swarthy,
Yeah,
black dudes.
yeah.
All right, cool. So you know about the secret memoirs of John Mackey?
Oh, of course. I mean, bro, like I said, bro, yeah. I mean, just to clarify, I mean, the other day I had to put a quote out on because somebody.
So I'm just on there, just making sure I got this here. Oh, you know what? We're gonna have to bring a brother, Malachi. He's got the actual book talking about the description of Charles I and II, how their complexion was, because it was a spy in it, a secret spy for King James.
Yeah,
it's right here. There's a few of them.
And so,
actually. Why the book is so expensive though?
Well, what do you think? Because the exclusivity. I mean, there are books that I've seen that cost thousands of.
They don't want to. Yeah.
And it's like.
Yeah, I know. I've seen like this one year that I wanted to. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes like are they printed on silk or something or gold? But again, knowledge is important, isn't it? And so some of the greatest books that we need access to are very, very expensive, very, very expensive indeed. And so having resources to acquire those books is no small feat. But what I would say is that this is part and part. And so the other day, I made a comment on a gentleman's YouTube channel. Actually, I know it's changing a little bit, and this was regarding comments that were made. Pardon me, regarding the presence of black people here. And how long it's been happening for. And essentially, this individual was essentially attempting to, not saying it was in a malicious manner, but attempting to suggest that black people haven't really been here all that long. Now, my response to him was to essentially pull up references to what I'm aware of and some of my own access to information and what I've said. And you may not know this, but this is a quote from The Guardian. There has been an unbroken line of black people in Britain that goes as far back as 10,000 years. So are you guys aware of...
he's talking like probably prior to the Byzantine, or is it the Byzantine? How long was the Byzantine Empire? That's a good one, because when it talks about the 1,000-year reign.
Yeah. The 1,000-year reign. So I mean, continue. Sorry.
Was that the Byzantine?
The Byzantine Empire was said to be the 1,000-year reign, but again, the Byzantine Empire was also the Holy Roman Empire, and they have connections with the Holy Roman Empire too.
No, on top of that, because obviously this is where the confusion is going to come into play now. You got the Romans who were black as well. Do you remember that? So I know it wasn't that far back, because now we're talking the Byzantine Empire. We're talking about how close was that to the Ottoman? Ottoman was a lot earlier. The Moors, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's the Byzantines a lot fast forward, because the end of that was called when the Renaissance period kicked in, when they started to whitewash everything and turn everything white, start to bleach like the faces of our predecessors.
Yeah, and so I mean, essentially, there has been. So I think on that note, because I think I want to keep it on point, that
let's get back to the Bible after this.
Yeah, why do people of color gravitate back to the King James Bible? I think it's likely because the connection to a person of color. So it's not often depicted or known about. I'm going to find a reference to you in a second, right now, in a moment. But the fact that there were people of color here, people of color here, pretty much always. And so this is something that often doesn't really get much credibility or much notoriety. So are you guys aware of Cheddar Man?
Cheddar Man. No.
He's mentioned it before. He asked me before.
I think
you know what? Why is he finding that person here? You know why we resonate? because he's one of us. That's all it is.
Yeah, pretty
Could
much.
be in China.
That's as
One
simple
of
as it
us.
goes,
It's one of
really.
them, that's all you go. You know, like it takes one to know one. It's one of
Yeah.
those, and the Shakespearean language, yeah, that people say, like, have you ever seen the original picture? You know, the original picture of Shakespeare.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
type
yeah.
of people on the face of earth here speak in code?
Mm.
Who does it? Shakespearean language, yeah, like we resonate, even though we don't understand. Like, even when I'm there growing up here, like in the westernized world, and I'm hearing patois in the westernized world. My dad's saying stuff that I've never heard in my life here, but he'll give me a command. I've never heard it from anyone else, but I do it. When he said, "We are up," he just I know when he said to me for the first time I ever heard "We are up," I just know get up out his seat. I just knew, and like naturally, you know. So that's what I'm saying. We resonate with something that rather than all these other versions, we go there because even though his face was painted white in the history books, he's there. He's a Jacobite from the seed of Jacob. That's our ancestry. So I can't refute that. You remember in the scriptures it says, back to the Bible, yeah, I'll get that. It says the spirit itself bears witness. We know each other through spirit more than anything else. But anyways, I'll let you carry on. I just wanted to get that one out.
No, that was great. So I actually have found the link, and I'm going to read it as it quotes here from the Guardian. And the link I'm going to send the quote in the chat too, so you can see this as well.
Or you can share the screen. Feel free to share your screen, Corey.
Yeah, share the screen.
Oh, okay. I'm to share the screen. Yeah, no worries. We can share.
Think about all the different learning styles people may have on the platform.
Okay, so what I'm about to show at the moment may come across as being a bit controversial, so I apologize in advance to anybody this offends. It's not intending to offend anybody. It's purely for educational purposes. Yeah. Sorry, I just put it on there.
To trigger those critical thinking skills, right? That's what it is about.
Yeah. So, in fact, I could probably show a little bit more even, but because let's have a look. Window. So here we go. So can you guys see that?
I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going here. I'm going to zoom in, so you can see that there.
Yes.
So I'm going to come back to this in a second, but you can see here what I'm highlighting now. Thus, the DNA of Cheddar Man shows that there is a 10,000-year unbroken genetics lineage from the people who inhabited Britain long before agriculture. And Cheddar Man is referencing, as it says underneath here, the first modern Britain had dark to black skin. Can you see that?
Can see it.
I have a question. I have a question though.
Go on.
Why do they call it Cheddar Man?
Oh, because it was found in Cheddar Gorge.
Oh, okay.
So it was found in Cheddar Gorge.
See, Cheddar Man, you know, Cheddar Gorge. This is what I'm saying. Like, make sure, like, can you put the link? You know, in the public comments, yeah. Can you put the link to where to find that, please? To the origination of the word Cheddar Man. Just so the public.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I'm going to go into that in a second.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show some stuff now. So the genes itself, if you want to, we can get into the genes itself. Can you see me okay? You see me? So we're going to get into the genes itself shortly. And I'm going to explain what's happened here a little bit. So if you look over this over here, let me make sure I'm on the quick page and zoom in.
Right, we haven't got anything in the studio for me to present yet. So.
Oh, I'm on the screen. Am I sharing screen or not?
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're not sharing.
Okay.
Oh, did you want to share your screen?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm going to share my screen again.
Right, here we go.
Okay, so can you see that there? It says from Devon Live, the first Britain. And I haven't gone into the details too much, although I could go into the slide, but if you want me to, I will do. So Hero mentioned about the unbroken line of from 10,000 years, Cheddar Man. Yeah?
Right.
About the first Briton had dark to black skin.
Mm.
Yeah?
Right.
Now, okay. Now here, both of those depictions, they're both Cheddar Man.
Interesting.
Okay, now what's happening here is that when they first did the depiction of Cheddar Man, they did it in a way, like when we mentioned before about, I don't want to call it whitewashing, but we'll say intellectual fudging maybe, or adjustment of the narrative to fit certain cultural diversity.
Of course.
So on the right-hand side, we can see here was the first model that was created for Cheddar Man. He had pretty much straight hair, pale skin, pinky pale skin, brown eyes. Okay. Now, when that was released, the scientists who had seen the genes were like, "We can't do that. We can't do that because the genetics, the genes for his skin showed he had deep skin from birth, not tan, not tawny. He had deep, swarthy skin from birth. So that depiction on the right simply was just not viable. Simply not viable because the gene stated so. It also stated he had curly hair. Now, on the picture there, they gave him a little bit of a perm, a bit of a Rick James maybe, but it's not the curly hair. As in, again, in complete accordance with the genes, his hair was curlier than that, as curly as mine by the gene standards. Same as his eyes were brown by the gene standards. It could have been blue, he says, because mutations can happen, and so it could have been blue. If you look at the second depiction of the Cheddar Man, they gave him the very deep skin, slightly more curly hair, curly towards the sides, and then blue eyes. On the first model, he had brown eyes. I think that's important to note here, so you can see what's happening here. So this is a model that's based on genes. The first model had brown eyes or pale skin. The second model had pretty much black skin, as I would say, brown skin. But then they gave him blue eyes to fit into cultural diversity, you could say.
Right.
And on both instances, sorry?
To hold on to it, to cling on.
A little bit. And on both instances, the hair is curly, but not as curly as the genes stated it was. And again, if you can imagine that, the idea that you could put out a shaggy-haired, say, afro kind of situation, brown skin and brown eyes as the first Briton, and that wouldn't cause offence, especially to people that maybe were far right or had certain ideological ideas. We probably know that would cause some offence, and they did their very best to try and keep everybody inclusive, and they did a good job, I would say. But the gene stated it was essentially would have been passable as a modern-day black man, skin, hair, and eyes and all. And I'm just showing you the both models there, so you can see a clear differentiation to when they first put it out to when it was pushed back because they couldn't get away with that. And the whole moustache thing. What is the moustache thing about? I'm not sure. Just try out, like a big little China. I'm joking.
It looks like it's from outer Mongolia, to be fair.
Well, it does, yeah. But I think there's a few key points here. The change in skin from the first, second model, and the change in eyes for the second model, and even the hair, they made it more curly the second time round, but not true to the genes, which is like curly like mine, essentially. And so this is
going back to the point, though, Corey. How is this linking back to the Bible?
Well, I would say that we don't often get told some of the truths regarding the situation and all of our heritage and just how populous people of color truly were. And so, like Nathan mentioned earlier, we kind of resonate with the King James Bible, and it's kind of like subconsciously we know it was a black man. I'm joking, but it was a person of color. And so when we say that, people are like, oh, nah, there weren't any people of color here until after the slave trade. Well, I can go back to that quote there. There's been an unbroken line, 10,000 years of lineage, okay, of people with dark to black skin in Britain.
Yeah.
And the only anthropological evidence in Britain of somebody of 10,000 years is a black man. And so before I've had people challenging this, by the way, and said, oh, how can that be the case? maybe he was brought over here as a slave, my response would be, you'd better find the white slave owner bodies then that brought this so-called person over here, because at the moment, how do you know that? Again, I apologize in advance, not for offense, but for all we know, people of color brought the pale-skinned people over, also or black people brought white people over, because at the moment, the only evidence we have is that we were here, or black people were here, at the earliest points that we know. And so you can't super project and say, well, that person was brought over as a slave. We would have to find then the slave masters and their burials. We haven't.
This is just an absolute perfect example for me, you know, because as you know, I'm studying at the moment. And there, right there, is a snapshot of critical confidence, right? For you to say that unalive, right? King James might have been black, yeah? And that, oh, how do you know that it wasn't the black people that brought over the pale-skinned people? Like, to me, I just find that so intriguing, and that level of confidence and that way of thinking is something that more of us need to do. More of us need to ask these questions, right?
Well, yeah, that's it, really. Yeah, I agree. And really, it's a question more than anything else. We've got the evidence. The evidence shows. And so what we shouldn't do is go in with dogma and be like, oh, well, how does this fit into the slave trade and black people being enslaved and being brought over? It doesn't. It simply doesn't, because there are no white bodies at that age even, or older, not even a few years, not even near that age. So it basically, the first Britons, like I said, the first Britons, we have evidence for anthropologically are so-called black people.
Right, according to the nature. So do we have any evidence about King James's identity?
Yeah, we do actually. So
can we pull that up at all?
All right, cool. If you can, cool, Corey, just type in King James, original King James image, and Jacobus. Get that up on Google Images, and just put that up on your screen when you can.
Because it's all relevant. Because as I say, we're having a critical
I'll get some scriptures as well.
We're having a critical look at the Bible, and I've asked, why do people of color, specifically Caribbean and Africans, draw for the King James Bible? Now, your hypothesis is that it takes one to know one, right? Yeah, so we resonate with the King James Bible because King James may have been black or was black, or you say you have evidence. Wow.
Well, I mean, there are several depictions of him appearing with.
Get the one that's there. Yeah,
well, I've got a couple. I've got one already. I'm just showing my screen.
For a few. The main thing is that I want to make sure, because there's a lot of stuff that's here. That's cool. And now, have you ever got a picture of him and Shakespeare? Have you seen that one where they look like they're related? Don't worry, I've got a bigger point to make. Whilst you've been talking, I've got scriptures to show how, if you look, first and foremost, to keep that picture there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does it say on the? Sorry, my bad. What does it say around the edge? Can you see Jacobus there?
Yeah.
And can you see Brittany? Look around, like the circle that's around the image. You can see Jacobus, right? You can see the 6 there. That when he was King James, Jacobus the 6.
Yeah.
Now that's his reign over there. Then you can see Brittany. Then look, you can see Frank, Hibernia.
Yeah.
Where's Hibernia, bro? Let's find that real quick.
Hibernia.
These are the things you have to look at. Hibernia.
Okay, 1 second. Let me try and get that update. Hibernia.
The reason why I'm saying that, because I didn't clock it before. It's new to me. Hibernia.
I think that could be like the Iberian coast, isn't it? A Latin term. Okay.
Damn. I only clocked it. Only you should see that part.
Okay. If you wanted to, what we could. Is it okay if we go share screen and go through some of the Jacobite ship manifests?
We can do for a minute, yeah, but I want to just get to the point, yeah. How do we lead to Jacob? I've been waiting for a minute. So yeah, leave that. Well, you can leave that there for a second, yeah. There's one thing that I want to make sure, yeah, which is very heavy, and to make sure it's recorded. All right, cool.
Go on.
I just want to go into the comments as well whilst I'm here.
There's some comments there. So, I mean, like, why we're getting up the comments?
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I want to get here first. You want to
go on, Deacon.
Go on.
We'll come back to the comments, but I just wanted people to know that I've seen them. We'll come back to them.
Thank you so much. I just want to go to the Book of Chronicles, yeah, which is very important about lineage in the Bible, to how we got from the Old Testament to King James. Let's see where King James sits. All right, just to make it easier. All right, so we're going to go to the Book of Chronicles. Yeah, I think it's chapter 8 and verse 1 or 1 and verse 8. All right, Chronicles. I might just find it easier here, actually. All right, cool. Chronicles.
Come on, I'm going to get that. Chronicles what? Sorry, bro.
I think it's the first book. Let me... It could be the second Book of Chronicles. No. Hold on. I'll get it for you. Give me a moment.
Let me know the reference.
I will. All right. It is in Chronicles. I know that for a fact. It's here. 8:1. Is it? Oh, it could be 1 and 8 actually. Oh no. 1 second. It says that now these were the sons, because basically it's showing. I'll get there. It's heavy. Chronicles is actually basically Chronicles is one of the books here where it was bearing records. Obviously, if you look at the word chronicle.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So yeah.
While you do that, do you have a minute for me to play some of the ship manifests? Will we come back to that, or do you want me to do that first?
1 second. I've got it. Now these, hang on. Now these king. There we go. It's 1 and 8.
Okay.
No, it's 8 and 1. Why is it not showing me? Basically, it's showing that, you know, like in a census, and it shows here. This is to disannul another whole doctrine about where people talk about what's his name, Menelek, and
Menelek. Oh, okay. You mean like with Queen Saba? Menelek was the son of Queen Saba.
Queen Sheba, yeah. So that was a reference that I used before, but this is even heavier, like for what you were talking about.
Okay, go on.
Oh, sorry. All I have to do is go to the one afterwards. So it's the first Book of Chronicles, chapter 9 and verse 1, not 8. My bad, there was just one out. So it says here, so basically a Jacobite, Jacob is Israel, right?
Yeah.
We know that. So Jacob is known as Israel.
Everyone knows that, but
all right, cool. All right, cool. So Israel, his name. So Jacob is the progenitor of the nationality or the bloodline of Israel, if anything. Yeah. So I'm going to read this. The first Book of Chronicles, chapter 9 and verse 1. And it says, so all Israel were reckoned by genealogies, and behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, who were carried away to Babylon for their transgressions. So it's just showing the record that if you are not mentioned amongst the lineage of Israel, then you're not. Like, it's just not there. It's like, you know, your family records. If you're not in there, maybe you was born in a different country and wasn't recorded, or you just not part of the family. It's one of those, isn't it?
Many tribes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There you go. So let's fast forward. So therefore, for King James to be a Jacobite, for him to even be existing from the seed of Jacob, and for him to have that there, the Jacobites were what color? Let's go to the colorization. So when you put the images of the two images that you had, the one that looked like a Neanderthal and the other one, right? Now let's look at Jacob and Esau. Now we know.
Go back to that one a second.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Exodus. Yeah, real quick. I'm going to go to Exodus chapter 4 and verse 3. And in the comments as well, we've got you.
Okay.
Oh, Nation Knows All Color line by J.A. Rogers. It's true,
Yeah,
you know, not
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that's important to note. I think, okay.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get
that book is deep. I also want to note that, like I said, the idea of race in itself is a quite a modern concept. So there's no chromosome, there's no genetics for race. We know that as such. And so, as far as I'm aware, there has been diversity in Britain. And I'm not saying that there was no Palestinian people here. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that the oldest evidence that we have, actual evidence of 10,000 years, is of a so-called black man with the first Britain. And
while you touch on that, then you may as well acknowledge this comment, right?
Okay, sure. So difficult to prove an absence, Corin, when it comes to archaeology. So well, I haven't got to prove an absence, you've got to prove the presence. And so, like, what I'm saying here is that, I mean, regarding the situation of if somebody states that, oh, maybe the person of color was brought here to the land, then you would have to prove that there were already other people here of that description or type. If it was never a person of color, a black person, it wouldn't matter, would it? And so the idea of proving, I'm not to prove absence as such, because absence is absence. What I'm stating here is that the earliest evidence of occupation of Britain that can be traced to 10,000 years is of a so-called black man, so-called person of color. And that's what the evidence says. If someone wants to hypothesize or postulate that there were people of pale skin or so-called white colonizers or slavers, whatever, that brought a black person here, I'm happy to investigate that idea with some evidence. And we can't just super project the idea that, oh, that's how black people got everywhere around the world. Like, we didn't have our own ships. I'm joking. Like, I'm not joking. But the idea is that if the oldest evidence for a person occupying this land is of a so-called person of color, then that's all we know right now. And I'm happy to look at other things. Yes, I'm aware there is also diversity. I'm not saying there was never a diversity. I'm not saying there wasn't Palestinian people here too. And I can probably show that from, in fact, while you're looking for that, I want to show something else I didn't get up personally. Bada bing, bada boom. So, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can. It would be nice if you could zoom in, though.
Yeah, well. So this is BBC Teach.
Yeah.
And this is history. And this is native tribes of Britain. Okay? And so if you can see that, what that says there, it says this map shows the approximate location of major tribes who lived in Britain at the time of Roman conquest of Britain in the 1st century AD. The sole source for this existence and location of these tribes are Roman writers who visited Britain. So these are first-hand witness accounts that are part of our accepted verifiable history by authenticated documents. One of the best observers of the tribes of Celtic Britain were Tacitus, who wrote on historical events in Britain. Another was a Roman geographer called Ptolemy, you know who Ptolemy is, who wrote a description of Britain, listing the names and many British tribes. So, Cheddar Man was found where this is 22 here. See that? So where Cheddar Man was found was around 22. Yeah?
Right.
Can you see that? 22. That's from
Yeah.
Wales, 22. And my family are from here, 19. Okay, and I'm just going to pull it up now for you. So there we are already here. So the 19 is Solorus. So I'm going to go back to the top there, Solorus tribe. So I'm going to go back here. So 19, just to verify. 19 Solorus.
Mm.
So where Ted members found 22, where my family are from, generally speaking, 19. Yeah, we'll go down to there. Find the Swathi. Okay, so we're in the paragraph now about the Solorus people. Okay, and I'm going to just say how Tacitus described them, and we can zoom in again. Can you see that? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, Tacitus described them as swarthy and curly-haired, and suggested their ancestry might be from Spain because of the similarities in appearance with some peoples in Spain. However, there is no evidence suggesting any genetic links between South Wales and parts of Spain. And so let me clarify that again. Tacitus, a historian that our history is kind of built upon, one of at least, described my family's people in south of Wales. Not all the, just clarify, not all the tribes were swarthy and curly haired. Oh, please, I want to note that. Not all the tribes are swarthy and curly haired, but 19 here, where my family are from, were described as being swarthy and curly haired. Okay, and if you go back to the depiction, where is it? Is it here? Or in fact, we can just see 10,000 years of unbroken lineage. The records are there. The records are there. Unfortunately, we've got to get past a lot of dogma and a lot of dogma, I would say, and a lot of racial ideology. And so when we're reading this account, but this is not the only Swathi tribe, by the way. There are other Swathi.
Yeah, and I also just want us to take a little step back and really define the word Swathi. Yeah, because I'm a teacher, right? So I'm conscious that people have never heard that word before. It's new to me, so it will be new to a lot. So Swathi.
That's true. So I'm just gonna just
Swathi, Schwartz. Yeah, go for it, bro. Because I can get back to how this reference. I've got the scriptures.
There we go. Here, that's all I needed to say. Look, there we go.
Okay, dark.
There you go.
Dark color.
Anyone that's in the am I mute? Sorry.
No, you're not.
So yeah. So just to clarify,
anyone that has the opportunity,
continue. Sorry.
No, I just said if anyone either look it up or screenshot the sorry, we've got a latency, so just bear that in mind.
Okay, so first Britain, dark skin and curly hair. Okay, we've just got the definition of Swathi. And we've got how my family's people were described by Tacitus. And again, I'm going back to the sort of 10,000 year unbroken lineage. Okay, so this is not me making this up. Believe it or not, when I discovered this, I was as shocked as anybody else would be. I was genuinely quite surprised. The evidence speaks for itself, and so we can't say that we weren't here because the evidence shows that we was here. And so, if you want to now, would it be okay if I went to the ship manifests to show you that?
Yes. Does it link with today's concepts?
It does. Yes.
Basically, you can do, but I just want to make sure you can go as far as But what's happened? There's not been one Bible scripture for a minute to even back up what you're saying or to even support. To see, because the main thing is the whole critique. Continue, because I'm taking notes anyway. So what we'll do on a reflection, what I've conjured up is continue, bro. And
okay, so
I've noted down everything. Yeah, you carry on. Carry on.
And we're going to go into the exile of the dark-skinned Britons, some of the Jacobites, many of which were dark-skinned. This goes back to sort of, I'd say, biblical type exodus, you could say. I'm sure you can maybe find the script for it. The script. So I'm going to get a great talk up from another great or amazing journalist. His name's Kudime Aha. Can you see the screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm just going to play it for you, and then you should be able to see for yourself. Okay. Okay. For educational
it's very interesting book because it correlates with what we've been learning. All right.
No, Corey, when you mute, everything mutes, right? Because you're sharing the screen.
My apologies.
If their personal history is that on the debate, people want to be stuck in a story, right? Like in a storyline, would never show any sources, never. Or if their personal history is that, that's their personal history. That doesn't mean everybody else's history is that. So come with respect. We're not here to play games and be sarcastic or anything. We're here to build and learn. And if you want to present some sources, you're free to do your own video.
That's the main thing. Sources.
Short sketches of Jacobite gleanings from state manuscripts. Short sketches of Jacobite, the transportations in 1745 by J. Macbeth Forbes. This is from the Harvard College Library from the bequest of Thomas Wren Ward. It says,
okay. I want to stop there for a second just to clarify. These are official sources of that time. These were state manuscripts, and he mentioned about how it's part of the Harvard Library College also. And he's going to go into a bit more detail in descriptions to the people that were shipped from Britain to the Americas before being taken to sometimes plantations and sometimes to the islands, the Caribbean islands.
By gleanings from state manuscripts, short sketches of Jacobite, the transportations in 1745 by J. Macbeth. An exact list and description of 150 rebel prisoners shipped at Liverpool on board the veteran John Rickey, master for the Leeward Islands, which were taken near Antigua the 28th June last by the diamond privateer Paul Marcelli, commander, and carried into Martinico the 30th June of 1747. All right? What are we going to see here? The passenger list of all these prisoners, Jacobites. Now let's see. It says name, age, profession, the county, the statute, remarks. So any other thing, right? And number one, just for example, we're going to start with number one. It says Robert Adam, 18. He was 18. He was a laborer. County, he's from Sterling. He was 5 feet 1 inch, very short. He's brown. He's brown, smooth face, right? He's brown. All right? He's brown. William Bell, 46 Weaver, Berwick, 5'4". He's black with curled hair. He's strong made. All right? Dougal, or Dougal. We already know about Dougal.
We did.
Dougal Campbell, servant, Lochaber, 5'4". He's also brown complexion, well made and ruddy. Brown complexion. Alex Katana, 17. All right, young. These are young. Miller, Bandanock. All right, he's from Bandanock. He's 5'5". He's black, ruddy. Black, ruddy. All right. A lot of you probably still saying, well, that probably means white. Well, we'll see. All right, we'll see. Dougal Campbell, Dougal, Douglas, Dougal, Swarty, right? He's a servant. Argyle. He's 5'5", 1/4. He's brown also. And also ruddy, healthy, well made and ruddy, it says it, I guess. Alex Campbell. All right, we already know about the Campbells. We just read that, right? 18. He's a laborer. Inverness, 5'4". He's pock-pitted. Whatever that means. John Campbell, he's 20. He's 5'2". He's swarthy. All right, he's swarthy. There's no saying, oh, well, that black means, no, swarthy. He's swarthy. Alex Cameroon, he's well made. He's swarthy because this doo-doo, brown, swarthy, brown pock-picket. Oh, I guess so. These are all brown people. See that? The D.O. is ditto. All right. William Dickinson, red hair, thick set, and healthy. Alex Davidson, He's ruddy and slim made.
Okay, so I think so. These are the actual records of people that were shipped to the Americas as prisoners, and so these were Jacobites, and so when King James was translating the Bible and attempting to inform his people, King James was also a Jacobite, or of the house of Jacob. And do you recall last time maybe the first time we spoke, maybe when we mentioned about how the pillar of Jacob sits underneath the throne currently today? And I can probably, for reference to that also, sorry. Okay, my apologies. Where was that wrong? But okay. I'm just going to go to image search so we can just get a quick image search for that. So this is the pillar of Jacob, or they call it the stone of destiny. Yeah? Can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize I was on. Yeah.
So we've got James. In his very description, talking about Jacobus. We know he's a Jacobite. We've got the ship manifest of some of the exiled Jacobites after war, and he's describing them as brown, as black, as swarthy, as ruddy, and hair and otherwise. It also notes, I must note as well, that when they're pale skinned, there's some pale skinned people here too.
Right.
Yeah, so not all of them are really black. There are some people on there that I noticed some people that may be called maybe fair, some people that may be pale faced also, I think it's quoted as. And so here we've got the pillar of Jacob under the throne. And you might even have there's Charles there sitting there. Good man. So I think it's important to note that the pillar of Jacob still sits beneath the British throne as we speak today. And so this is often not really discussed or mentioned. Let's see if we can find Charles' coronation.
Very interesting.
Let's see if we can find Charles.
Now go for it, bro, because I know where you're going.
Okay, so Charles' coronation. So I want to try and find the right images where you can see Charles actually sitting on the chair. Well, okay, zoom in. So that's the chair there also. And there it is again. This is June Charles' coronation. So you can see there's a stone of destiny underneath the chair right here. The stone of destiny, the pillar of Jacob. Here's Charles. Okay, as he's being coronated, there's the stone underneath there, and it's said that he would not be eligible to be coronated as king without that stone being there or without him having lineage.
Interesting.
Now,
Wow.
I have a question for you. Before I do my part here, Corey, why was he not allowed to be coronated as king according to the information available online? Why was he not allowed?
During his mother's reign, you mean?
During the whole reign of the monarchy?
Yeah, sorry?
During the whole reign of the monarchy, why was he not allowed at that point in time prior to Oliver Cromwell?
You're talking about James now.
Oh, James.
Oh, not
okay. So I mean,
not even Charles. Like, yeah, go on.
Basically about ownership of the crown. You mean by the Vatican? You mean, and essentially, was it?
Okay.
Henry II or Henry III, he basically broke the agreement with the church, and that resulted essentially in them relinquishing the crown So the crown was relinquished, I believe,
Okay,
to the Pope,
thank you.
Vatican, as a like, and so these like companies and like sovereign estates, and so essentially the deeds to the British throne were signed over. It was supposed to be in perpetuity, but I believe they've been fighting back for that to get the rights back to have sovereignty, you could say. But that's probably that could be a whole show in itself. That could be a whole show in itself, and it's tied up in the whole Liam Beckett situation. Not Liam Beckett. I mean, oh, what's his name? Not Liam Beckett. Not Liam Beckett. Gosh.
Let's go back to the basics, bro. What's this?
You got something to share?
A lot for a minute.
Oh, easy. Okay, so we can end up on there. So we've got James. We've got the ship manifestos here. I'll go back to the Stone of Destiny, the Pillar of Jacob. Go back to all. And I want to probably get so I was going to get trying like it's National Geographic. Okay, and they're mentioning it here. So a good viable, verifiable stores. Oh gosh, okay. Okay. And you can even see see the Jacobite Titans right there. There are others. The stones there also. This is National Geographic and the Stone of Destiny. Okay. And then we've got James, and he's quoting Bena Jacobus. And we've also got some of the earlier ship manifests and their descriptions. So please note that these descriptions aren't like graffiti or things. These are like official monetary records that were being taken to be used by the king or the king and queen and people who own business. And these peoples were shipped to the North Americas, and then later on, many of them, after further war, this is like after James, by the way, this is like after the dethroning of James, were then shipped to the islands, Jamaica, Cuba, other islands also. And so the question about why is the King James Bible so important? I think that he was again one of the last great representations of some of our core theology.
I like the way you've wrapped that up there. I think that was well done, and definitely doing the thing that I'm coining, raising critical confidence, right? For me, what's apparent is how intertwined the Bible is with the royal family. That's what's really standing out to me right now. I find that really interesting. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
While Nathan is organizing himself,
I've got some more to say about the Bible.
Can we please acknowledge some of these comments in the meanwhile? So I'm just going to pour this down. I want to go right back up to a response about absence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know who this is. This is Dr. Anthony Richards. Yeah. And so he's just right. Yeah. So from a scientific perspective.
So absence cannot be proven by logic. I'm not sure what he means by that specifically. The absence of what exactly? What I've shown is that the presence
in general.
Sorry?
In general, absence cannot be proven by logic. It's that's actually a strong saying that goes across the whole boards, you know.
Because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Absence can't be proven because there's
if you're not
nothing.
there, you're not a witness. You can't put any logistics or anything. You know, Dr. Anthony Richards, thank you for that, because and that's regardless of the subject that we're speaking about, absence cannot be proven by logic. If you're not there, if you're not a witness, you're not there. That's it. So excellent for that one. So if we was to base it on this, if anything, with the critical analysis of the Bible, if there's no historical evidence or anything that was there, one thing that you've done, Corey, is shown a lot of historical evidence and things that's been recorded that can put a perspective into place based on anyone that's witnessed anything that's happened and actually it's been recorded and it's there. If no one was there, the only thing that does is open up blind bias and conjecture.
Yeah.
So that's what, yeah. So you've put a lot of good points there. Now, obviously, with the topic being, being critical with biblical, like the Bible itself, in itself, there's a lot of things that's been mentioned, and it's been written in the same book, in this book. There's a lot of things that I've noted down and referenced. So, for example, we can talk about color in the Bible, where we can nullify color. We can look at bloodline in the Bible. You put up those two images of what could be deemed as, one looked white and the other one looked brown. Okay. Now, those two, and you said both of them are what?
Well, they're both with Cheddar Man, from the same genetic anthropological.
The Cheddar Man one, yeah.
They're both Cheddar Man, same bones, from the same genes, essentially, but they were expressed differently by different artists.
So can we go there real quick in the Bible? Yeah. Genesis chapter 25 and 25. Actually, before we go there, let's do a differentiation between. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4 and verse 3. I want to show you something. So we're talking about Moses.
Yeah, I like the Moses talk.
All right, cool. So in this part here, there's a big point. It's heavy. This could probably go how many hours more, but we're not, because we've already gone over. We've gone over the 2 hours. But if you guys are happy or apt to go a little bit further, we can go. Only as long as you guys are okay.
Yeah, I'm okay right now. I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay to do 3 hours. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's do Exodus chapter 4 and verse 3.
Go on then.
Yeah, so we can do this part. So Exodus chapter 4 and verse 3. And it says, actually, let's go further down. Exodus chapter 4 and verse 7. And he said, no, verse 6, sorry. So the book of Exodus chapter 4 and verse 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. I anchored that from when you mentioned the word snow. Obviously, snow looks like what? White. Snow is not green, snow is not blue, snow is white. Verse 7 says this, and he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it turned again as his other flesh. Flesh is a physical thing. So there's something which was opposing the white as snow flesh. Okay. So at one point, the hand was white, and then it went back to his other flesh. So Moses is not white. Let's just put that one there. Now let's jump towards those two images. Let's see, because you said from the same genetic, from the same genetics. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25 and verse 25. Let's talk about these two guys, Jacob and Esau. There we go, 25 and verse 25. So this is when, let's go from verse, so we're talking about Isaac. So Genesis chapter 25 and verse 23. And it says, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, 2 manner of people. So which is manner? It's not talking about it's talking about their persona. You're not having twins in your womb, and one has one personality, the one has another. And it's written throughout the scriptures about the personas of these two people. Like for how Jacob, his name is Israel for a meaning, Prince of the Power, for example. So let me just read verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now, let's look at these 2 people. The elder, usually out of twins that come out of a womb, who's the elder? It's the one that comes out first, isn't it? The older one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. So 80, a score is 20 times 3. He was 60 years old. So with that, we're talking about 2 nations. One was a different color and one was another. And this is the proving point. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old, and when she bare them. So when Esau came out, they described what he looked like. But when Jacob came out, they didn't describe what he looked like. Why? Because he looked the average person, because at those times you only saw quote unquote black people. But this one come out different. Esau came out different, because if Jacob came out different, then he would have been described. So Esau came out red and like a hairy garment. So he was different. He was more red-skinned. So we're not saying he was the white person as of today. So when you fast forward to Exodus, we're talking about there's an actual colorization change, because when he put his hand into his bosom and he pulled it out, it was white and leprous as snow. But when he put it back in again, it said it went back to his original flesh. So therefore, there's a big differentiation between white and original flesh. So these people that's been portrayed during the Renaissance, like when you look at biblical faces today, when you look in the Bible or you go into the churches, you always see white faces. However, if the people in the Bible were white, why would they have to pull their hand out of a bosom to show a differentiation of white upon white? It's like holding 2 pieces of paper and saying there's a difference between 2 white pieces. That's not the case. You with me? So let's go here. So let's fast forward. When you look in the scripture Lamentations 4 and 12, I think it is, it talks about the visages. Visage is the appearance, black. Solomon said, my skin is black, in the book of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. So this is where the color comes in. For one reason, is because obviously, as we've all established, the original people in the Bible are dark-skinned people. Let's go even further. When Herod was looking for Jesus, Mary and Joseph had to go and make him hide in Egypt. Now, the depiction of the Egyptians are very light-skinned Middle Eastern people. Now, at these times, we know by years and how many, so even in the AD period, there were still dark-skinned people. This was prior to the Suez Canal. This is prior to 70 AD, when the Roman siege happened, when where the Israelites had to flee back into Egypt to hide amongst the people in what we call Africa. And obviously that part, this was before the Suez Canal existed, we fled amongst people that looked like us. Jesus still hid amongst those people at those times, because the Jesus that we see that's depicted could not hide amongst black people, because that's like, that's the opposite of a needle in a haystack. You'd find them straight away. It's like us, me. Yeah, you with me?
Yeah.
So yeah. So this is why this will nullify the depiction of what we see to what is written. So the evidence is there. We know the originators are black people. Okay. So let's go to the bloodline part. The reason why we can do the bloodline part, because a Somalian and an Eritrean, even though I've been mistaken for an Eritrean because of my curly hair at one point. However, by bloodline, I can speak to Eritrean and say, no, you're not my people. It's like a Chinese and a Japanese. To many people, they look the same, but by bloodline, they're different people. Now let's go back to Jacob. I read earlier Chronicles 9:1. There's a record of the Jacobites, which is from Jacob. And is King James, being as a Jacobite, is he leprous as snow, or were the Jacobites dark-skinned people? That's another question itself. So let's see where the Bible can show where we fit in as well. So this is where I'm going. So let's go all the way down to the era that you've been speaking with Corey, which is bang on. And I really appreciate what you've been bringing out. Like, this is heavy critical confidence, as what Miss Roots is saying. Now, with the Jacobites, and he's talking about the Celts, and you said something about in the, well, like the monarchy and the royal family. So here's the key part. Now, when you read the secret memoirs of John Mackey, it has the description, and he said about the swarthy part, dark-skinned people. John Mackey, in his records, said that Charles I and II were of dark complexion in his diaries. This is why I need to get Malachi with the book, even though I've just showed you where to find it.
I can get it up for you right now if you want me to. I can get that up for you right now, John Mackey. I can get
right. Get Charles I and II whilst I'm doing that. Yeah. So let's go back to that stone that was underneath. Whilst we're doing that, so I'll continue with the stone part.
Sure.
So I want to make sure the last half an hour is nice as well. So I'm going to try and do this real quick and cool. So that stone, was it called Jacob's what? Sorry,
Jacob's pillar.
Jacob's pillar.
Yeah.
Now, you only can even be in ownership of that is if you are of the lineage. Now, where did the lineage get broken? Oliver Cromwell. Because after Charles II, what did Oliver Cromwell do? He pursued, because Charles II, he fled the throne, and Oliver Cromwell became a successor. Now, anyone, guys, or you, anyone in the audience, or you listeners, viewers, right now, look up Oliver Cromwell and what happened during his successor of the throne. It's like, like a support tutor, like you're in a school and you got the main teacher, and you've got a support teacher when the teacher's off sick. That's exactly what Oliver Cromwell was. So he was that successor to the throne. No bloodline, but what happened when King Charles came back, and I'm only basing this off the history that's recorded on the internet and this and that and in books. When he came back to the throne, you remember this was still a Protestant community, because let's go back to Guy Fawkes. He was born a Protestant, and at the age of 8, he turned Catholic. That's why he pursued Arthur and did the gunpowder plot. Okay. So that never happened, because obviously he that's why Bonfire Night's about. And he got hung, drawn, and quartered. Obviously, you gave more information, which I really appreciate. Now, after that, so when Charles came, he was due to the throne. He fled. When he came back, he was supposed to come after Oliver Cromwell. He came back and pursued the throne. But prior to his death, he converted to Catholicism. That is why the UK is now built on a Catholic society, Catholic built. This is why it's not the same Christianity as it was back in like Ethiopian times and all that. It's different now in the UK. So it's been Catholicized. So when you mention the Vatican, bang on, bro. So this is where all the pieces to the puzzle all add up. So after Charles II, after his death, who came after Charles II? Let's find out now, because just so we can get it right.
Sure.
Who came after Charles II? Let's get.
Are you asking me? I'm to find out for you right now. Sorry, I'm calling this research for John Mackey's the memoirs. I can find out for you right now. Give me a second.
Was it Elizabeth I? I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Who came front?
It says James.
No. It's not.
Charles
James.
II. Jacobite Charles II. Oh no, was it William of Orange?
Wait there. Who? I'm getting there. Hang on. Who came to? It wasn't because Charles the First and Second are after James. That's James's children.
So after Charles I, it was Charles II. Then after Charles II, it was.
I'm sure it was like somebody from mainland Europe came over. I'm sure it was William of Orange.
Yeah.
No, there we go. William. Yeah, I remember that. William Orange. We got James II of England. But it's after Oliver Cromwell because James II, Charles II, and then we had Oliver Cromwell, and that's where the bloodline changed because anything that came after Cromwell.
Right.
So it's Oliver Cromwell. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, but then let's have a look. It says so then there's James VII of Scotland.
Charles II coronation. Yeah, there we go. So who's after his?
Yeah, it was William of Orange. Yeah, William of Orange. It was.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've got it here as well. There you go.
So essentially, there was no
Battle of Hastings.
Yeah.
Right.
They petitioned another royal who had lineage from overseas, and he sponsored, you could say, paid tribute, and then he came over and ruled instead. Yeah, kind of like so it was William of Orange. I'm pretty sure.
Nah, you're bang on, bro. Like I've got it now. That's what I'm saying because that's where the bloodline changed, and that's why you see that thing that's underneath the throne, the pillar.
Yeah, the pillar of Jacob.
Stolen goods, bro. Like according to that, because he's only supposed to stay in the lineage because Cromwell was not of the lineage. There's no bloodline from James to Cromwell.
Cromwell was never crowned. Was he Cromwell? He was never crowned.
No, he was just a successor to the throne at that point. He was just like that person, like as I said, that substitute teacher. That's the best way I can put it. He was there because there was no one there on the throne. So I don't know how Oliver Cromwell got there, but someone appointed him.
Yeah, but he was never crowned. But are you saying his offsprings were? Is that your point?
This is where I'm getting at because we're after Charles, we got the Windsors and never Stuarts. No, let me not go here.
After the Tudors, which was surrounded by my family, then it was the Stuarts.
And who were the Stuarts? Why they call them Stuarts?
Well, there was Swarthy.
That's what I was looking for.
Some say that there were Stuarts to the throne also, but there was Swarthy.
Yeah, because that was it. So after that was it, because Charles came back. Charles II came back, and they turned him Catholic. So it's after. So who came after Charles II? That's the best part. James II.
James VII.
You got 7th. Oh yeah. James II and 7th in Scotland. Yeah, of course he would be 7th in Scotland because his dad. So the first James would have been the 6th of Scotland, who was the 1st of England. Thanks for that, Miss Roots. I'm screenshotting that. Thank you.
Miss Roots is on it.
I've got it here now. Oh, she patterned that one real quick. There we go. I did a whole documentary on this. Me and them. This is why I want Malachi to come in the next one if we're going to talk about this again.
I definitely think there's something there to critique the royal family.
Yes.
I've made a note to make that another show because that's something we often don't critique. I think that might be
Mhm.
really interesting with visuals and all. Just while we're in the
Can you
middle here
hear me?
getting organized, can we acknowledge some of these comments? Because we've got some
Yeah,
real
yeah.
gems,
Yeah,
real
Asher,
gems.
big up to you, Asher, and please, yeah,
Right.
Asher, you being a great contributor, yeah. Can you subscribe yourself to enroute23.com, because I would love to have you in here. You know? I would love to have you in here because like it's Stuart's eight. You know exactly who the Stuarts are because we just mentioned it with the Suaves in it.
Yeah. Talking
And,
to me or somebody else. Yes.
all right, please
So
subscribe and drop an email. Thank
yes,
you. Thank you.
please.
You've just done it.
Yeah, there's a few things he said here that's just wow. Even some references, or it could be a she for all we know. Yeah, do you want to read them out?
Oh yeah, Thomas Sampson, the Geneva Bible. Yeah, that was prior to James, because you know the problem with that, and I'm pretty sure you know, Asher, that it's only because of the way the words were put there. We couldn't depict them. It's like the letter F and S. That was a speech impediment, or the way we pronounce things. It's like having a lisp with the S and all that stuff. So that's the reason why they tried to retranslate it in that
was in
sense. It's only because of speech impediment.
That was in 1560, wasn't it? In the reign of Queen
Yeah,
Mary.
Geneva. Can you see it in the comments, bro?
I'm reading the
Miss
thing, but I'm
Ruth-
processing it as well as we speak.
Yeah,
all right,
Cool,
excellent.
getting
Okay.
organized. I also quite like this comment here. I'm assuming that this came out when you were talking about Moses, and reference to Moses pulling out his hand from under his breast. I'm assuming that's when that comment dropped.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was okay. Just the word leprosy or leper, because I thought leprosy was like when your nerves start deteriorating. You like like when you see pigeons and you see them walking around and look like they've got fists on the floor. Like I thought that was leprosy at one point, but it's actually a color like leprous as snow.
Right.
Now there was a curse apparently in the Bible in the Book of Kings, where there's a generational curse where people have like bleached skin, and I'm not talking about albinos. Right, it is a bit of a deterioration because yes, they can't stay in the sun as much as it's what's the word begins with D? Defect, but it's not a defect. You know what I'm talking about?
A deficiency.
Where is it what? Sorry,
deficiency.
Deficiency. Thank you so much. Yeah, like a deficiency, and that's what it is. Now I want to read this properly. Can the black more change his skin? Now, I don't know if I can change my skin. Well, yeah, bleach, if I bleach it, I can.
Didn't say that really.
You can't change your skin, but it does have, depending on its environment, like me, right? As the weather gets cold, I do get lighter. In the summer, I can go very, very dark, right? So
yeah, me too actually. Yeah.
When you're blending with your head wrap.
I quite prefer the sun-kissed colour. I look healthier. But as the weather gets cold in England, it draws out my colour. It does draw out the melanin. So
adaptation.
It's adaptation.
Another comment that you could reference, I'm just throwing out there as advocate, just like as alternative advocate, is that there are times when like maybe when you've got poor circulation, when you've got oral things, maybe like your hand's been soaked in water for too long and your hand comes out, it could look very pale. So I'm not saying that I'm not disputing the situation, but what I'm saying is that there are many times when brown skin can look paler than it usually does. And so
100%.
we know what leprosy is, though. We can't reference leprosy, and we are aware of what leprosy is. But I'm saying that separate to that, there are times when skin can change based on certain conditions, like how much water it has absorbed into it, whether it has good circulation or not. And so I'm just saying that there are many times when your hand could be very pale for other reasons. Obviously, if it references leprosy specifically, then we know what leprosy is. It is a condition.
Yeah.
You just tick something. Bro.
Go on.
What happens to leprosy. Yeah, like, all right, cool. Let's do this, right? And I'm only open this out, and this is just adding up certain things. You know, when our skin is dry in the cold, mostly it goes crusty. What happens to our skin?
It goes
flakes.
white.
What happens to it flakes? Skin falls off, which is similar to leprosy. When there's deterioration of the skin.
That's true, yeah.
So when your skin goes across, it flakes in it. You can just do that, and you see flakes falling off. So it's also cells in it.
Great. It does look actually. It's actually like there's a. You look at upon your hand, actually.
It's dead skin cells in it. Like our skin is dying more because of the cold. It turns white. It flakes. You can just do that, and you see skin cells falling off. Look at that alone. That's physicalities of that.
Yeah.
You know, we've just opened up Pandora's box, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
interesting. And also I just want to mention, like, there's a lot of Black people, people of color, especially in the West, that suffer from eczema. Yep. I know there's a lot of people in my family that have that. And when they go abroad, it tends to be not as bad. But in this cold weather in England, eczema, oh my days, like they suffer. So literally the environment impacts how severe their eczema is. So just related back to
it may appear.
Yeah. So it's all very interesting. I'm just going to throw up a few more comments before you get into what you want to get into, Corey, because there's been a lot of action in the live comment. I quite like the links with words, the critiquing of words, any relationships between words. I find it really, really interesting, right? So there's another blinder there.
Asha. All right. If you want to jump in, obviously, thank you for subscribing, yeah. Cathode Cathedral Catholic, yeah. All right, cool. Jump into watch out, for the talk that we're gonna do on the Tartarians, because I want to get a special person in
okay.
Right,
cathode and diode.
Yeah, do you see that? Yeah, look, Cathode Cathedral. He knows exactly what my dude Ashton's a he's what so what's the word? He's
shit. Right. There's another person, right? That's
he or she.
Ashanti Bay. So just to clarify, lack of melanin or in fact none at all is leprosy, right? So that's very important to make that distinction. So thank you for that clarity. Yeah.
Ashanti, have you subscribed to En Route as well?
Yeah, Ashanti is a long time subscriber, to be fair.
I've seen it before as well. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
So I've had a long day today. Like, as soon as I landed back in my house here, I just came straight in here practically.
I think that's beautiful, right? So, Corey, I know you want to get into something there, but it's important to acknowledge.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm patient. It's good.
We've got we're nearly coming towards 1:45. So, what we can obviously definitely do a part 2 on this. I know there's a few, but do you want to give something that can summarize this part?
Wow, Ashanti is my uncle. One of my teachers. You see the link? Wow. I love that. Welcome. And thank you for being here. Beautiful. And one day, come on and join us with the verbal, right? Yeah, love you to come up into the studio and join us. So think about that. We're here every Sunday. We're here every Sunday, most Sundays. So yeah, come on up. I'd love to hear your voices. Okay, so Corey, you ready?
Me? Yeah, if you want me to. Yeah, I'm good.
Are you sure? I'm just conscious time now. We've nearly been on for 3 hours, so let's get to what you want to. Was you going to present something?
I mentioned about in the comments. I've mentioned quickly about how the 3 editions of the Bible and like how basically that's talking about how it was pushed back. And so it was initially published in 1611, and then there was issues with that, and then it was republished in 1613, and then later it was published again then in 1617. And again, and this was like pushback from what people felt was acceptable to be included in the Bible and how it was written. I think it's important to note that a lot of the ideas that we have about race and how we perceive ourselves, that was connected to the previous talk regarding the perception of the attachment to the characteristics of black and the attachment to characteristics of white. A lot of them came about during this same time period. And a lot of the battle was regarding that perception and trying to keep everybody kind of happy in the mix whilst kind of sharing this information. Although, if I'm honest, it seems that in some cases, James is under so much pressure, in a similar case to mentioned with King Henry VIII, that there was a lot of manipulation happening. And from the record, which suggests that the book wasn't put out ideally as James wanted it to be. It was as good as it could be in the circumstances. I think that's important to note. What I was going into was I've got the actual book up of the memoirs of John Mackey during the reign of King William, Queen Anne, and King George I from 1733, and it was Charles, wasn't it? It was Charles that he was looking for.
Yeah, it was. Well, there's Charles the First and second, and both the descriptions were described. So you can go because I've already mentioned that part. You can still go over that, but then you're saying about from Queen Anne and all that. So you can go a bit further after that. So being mindful of the time, as Miss Root said, yeah. If you want to touch down a few things, because do you know what's really
if you want to,
is that even though we just real quick. Go on.
Well, if you want to, I can go to.
Yeah. So what I was saying was this real quick. Yeah.
Go on. Okay, go.
Yeah, we got latency again. All right, cool. So, yeah, just touch down a few things in our time, because the best part of the critical thinking and being of the Bible, we've done an introduction. What I've noticed. So we've just touched on how the Bible has a stigmatization in its history, and we've touched on some good things. We're gonna have to do a part 2, part 3, part 4. It's gonna be like a series.
Yeah. Well,
defo series.
I was looking into the whole sort of King James and the demonology thing, and the reasons why. To talk about these things and what was happening to him, because, like I said, people are vulnerable. And people are getting it from all angles. And believe it or not, James was getting it from all angles. He couldn't talk openly about it in many cases because some of the people that he was getting it from were the ones giving it to him. Kind of feel like it was really messy, and it's caught up in the whole sort of establishment of Parliament and the freedom of the people and freedom, and it's also free land also, and the Jacobites. And like the Act of Union and having independence. I mean, even to this day, Scotland is still fighting for independence. Even like not as long ago, so was Ireland too. So the idea that
after Brexit as well, you know.
yeah. So
you see, yeah, I know it's madness, but anyways, all right, we've just brought.
Yeah, to save time, so I've got the book up here. I've got the book ready, but what I'm going to do is, because for some reason the archive.org is going through this on a super slow, based on my connection. But what I do already have, I've got so many tabs open, is I've got the talk from Kulimayo Aha, which is an amazing researcher. So I'll just share my screen right now and let him tell you a little bit about it for educational purposes only. Oh, am I still sharing screen? Okay, let me stop sharing screen there.
Yeah, just put it back in that area and then I'll upload what you need me to show. While you're getting that prepared, I just find it all really interesting that right at the beginning when we had our little briefing, we said this can go in any direction, which is, I kind of subscribe to this, right? That allow it to be what it's meant to be. And how it's organically formed is we've looked at the lineage of James and why the King James Bible is important. And wow, Anyway, I'll save that for the conclusion.
But I agree.
I'm sharing my thoughts. Here we go.
Okay. So again, I just want to give big shout outs to this guy here. Kurimeiraha. Big shout outs.
Ah, somebody mentioned him earlier. That was mentioned in the comments and I didn't know who it was.
And also the Black Jacobites again. So
yeah, amazing.
Okay, so
invade London with the help of France or some places, and you know, he snitched on them, and you know, King William was able to beat these guys, the Jacobites. But we're gonna get to some very important parts of the book.
oh, actually,
With the help of the book explains that he found out that they were gonna invade London with the help of France or some places, and you know, he snitched on them, and you know, King William was able to beat these guys, the Jacobites.
Okay, so he was talking about literally about who was king after James and so on, and he's mentioning about how William was able to beat them because there were traitors amongst the midst. Okay, people that weren't really in line with James or Britain, that were working against him, that were doing all sorts of crazy things. Marmon had to try and do a demonology kind of explanation to try and protect himself from things that we think of as now as demons. But we can explain that further and what was actually happening later on.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're going to get to some very important parts of the book. All right, so we're going to begin with this person right here, which he's describing as, his name is Charles, known as the Duke of Somerset.
Okay. Before we get into this, Cheddar Man was from Somerset. So that body that we found of Cheddar Man, okay, in Cheddar Gorge, that's Somerset.
Master of the horse, of the ancient family of Seymour, who made so great a figure in the reign of Edward VI. I remember these are the people he's spying on. So these are the Jacobites, all right? So first thing I want to do is show you the hijack, all right? But please dodge the hijack. I'm about to show you why. Please dodge the hijack. This is Charles Seymour VI, Duke of Somerset, all right? Supposedly same person, all right? Now I just want to see the picture they're showing here. All right, do you see that? All right, we see a white guy, right? A little bit of curly hair, right? You guys.
Okay, so we've got to come on to as well the hair and why they was depicted the hair as being so big and full. I mean, again, this is going to be a series, but we'll see that anyway.
Some curls in his hair. All right. But we got a white guy, right? Now we're gonna go ahead, all right, and get to this part of the book where it describes what he looks like. It says he is of middle stature, well-shaped, and very black complexion. A lover of music and poetry, of good judgment but reason, of great hesitation in his speech, once expression. He is about 42 years old. All right, what is he? Very black complexion. All right, the Duke of Somerset. Yet in Wikipedia, we're finding something else, right? They're showing us a white guy here. So dodge the hijack. This is a later on painting. And look what he's pointing at. Look at the subliminal on this. All right, let me just try to zoom in so you guys can see this. All right, he's pointing at the so-called Negro. So this is probably Seymour over here. They're showing him. Why is he pointing at him? Do you see the trickery? He's pointing at the so-called Negro man, child or person over here. Who's the real charge?
Pause it.
Person over here.
Go on, carry on. Go on.
Go back to the image real quick.
Oh, the image of the royal, the fake one. Okay.
Yeah, the hijack royal. Yeah, the hijack. Yeah. Bro, what's that round his neck? Go closer to like his torso. Why does that look like a noose?
It does actually. It's like a rope kind of thing. Yeah, it's like a the curtain holders. It's like a curtain holder. The curtain thing that takes curtain ties. That's what it looks like, a curtain tie. Looks like a curtain tie, really. But yeah, I mean, so. Oh gosh, yeah, and then someone said, yeah, and then some. 1 second.
Finding something else, right? They're showing us a white guy here. Yet in Wikipedia, we're finding.
So I'm gonna go back. Very black complexion. Let me see if I can put it up quick. Is it on the same place here? Or... Okay, 1 sec. Where is it? Where's it? Okay. Because here, so you can see that as well now. So Cheddar Man, I'm going to say, and I'm going to click on there a minute. Cheddar Man. Somerset. Just so I can show you where they're talking about. Oh, here it is here. Cheddar Man, a human fossil found in the Gorge Cave in Cheddar Gorge, Somerset, England. See that? Can you see that?
Yeah. It also correlates with the map you showed us earlier, you know,
Yeah.
with the British Isles, and you know that Somerset down in the south. So yeah, we can see that.
And so, okay, go on. So
all right, what is he? Very black complexion. All right, the Duke of Somerset. Yet in Wikipedia, we're finding something else, right? They're showing us a white guy here. So dodge the hijack. This is a later on painting, and look what he's pointing at.
Okay, I'm going to skip forward to the next one so you can just
writing. He's a spy, and he's writing to King William. Very black complexion. The next person we're going to talk about, and he's going to describe is Sidney, Lord Godolphin, Lord High Treasurer, a treasurer of England. Before we go to him, what do we say in Wikipedia? Sidney Godolphin, first Earl of Godolphin, Secretary of State, Northern Department, First Lord of the Treasury. We're talking about the same person here, but check out the image. Look at the image. They're showing us
and I'd hate to say, but there are some, I would say, but that hair, that sort of like wavy curly hair. In fact, I can show you other images of other great royals and duplications, but there's a reason why it's so curly. And yes, there are Pascan people, there are with Afro hair too, there really are. But this here image here, you'll see for yourself in a minute, is
white guy.
Is done based on
before
what the
we read the description, with this person right here, would you think he's in any way dark skin or of a dark complexion or black or swarty, tan, even a little bit brown? Do you see any of that here in this painting? No, right? But check out the curls again. You see the wigs, the curls. Look at that. Oh, they gotta add something. Is he pointing at a so-called Negro too? No, I guess he's not. But now let's read what he looks like in reality. We're gonna go. All right. So it talks about him. It says he has an admirable, clear understanding of slow speech with an awful serious deportment. Thus more than he promises, an enemy to flattery, show and violence of very hard access, but that being equally deemed to all degrees of people makes it supportable of a low stature. Then, with a very black and stern countenance, near 60 years old. All right, he's very what? Very black. Does this guy look like he's very black? Does this guy look like he's very black to you? Huh? Very black? Dodge the hijack. Very black. All right.
We're using way too many platforms for work. We should just use Monday.com.
We're not using that many.
HR.
Right. The next person here is Daniel, Earl of Nottingham, Secretary of State. All right, Daniel. And his name was Finch, last name. Just want to show you again. Daniel Finch, second Earl of Nottingham. He was an English Tory. A Tory, remember what a Tory was? They were Jacobites, supporters of the Jacobite. This is the picture they got of him in white.
At that point, I just want to explain something. Where my name comes from, Gwyn, Tord. Yeah, it's Gwyn and it's Tord. Gwyn, Tord. We were the royalists. My family were the royalists, and that's how it's noted of Gwyn. And we can get more into that later on. But anyway.
Wikipedia. Let's back up again. That's a white man, right? Now let's see what he really looked like. What he was described as. Right? It says that he has also the exterior air of business and application enough to make him very capable, and his habit and manners very formal. A tall, thin, very black man. He's a very black man, like a Spaniard or a Jew, about 50 years old, like a Spaniard more, or like a Jew, like a Moor. And they say, this is him right here in Wikipedia. Do you see the hijack? Dodge the hijack. They're lying to you. They've been lying to us our whole lives. Break the spell. Don't let them lie anymore. How can they teach this in school still? He was a very black man. A very black expression, right? All right, the next person here is John, Duke of Newcastle. It says, is this the name of Holmes was Earl of Clare before the Revolution, and married a daughter of the late Duke of Newcastle, who died without heirs male. King William created this gentleman a duke and gave him the garter. All right, so King William kind of hooked him up. But now let me go to the Wikipedia page. Right, this is him, John Holmes, first Duke of Newcastle, and this is the picture they put up in Wikipedia. Now, looking at this picture, do you see any countenance of him being at least dark in any way, like tanned, anything? Right? He looks like a white man. Now, what is the common theme behind all these portraits? Is the curly hair, right? The curly hair. That's the only thing they kind of try to like say, but this is not a real, this is fake. Whoever this person is right here, it's not John Duke, right? Of Newcastle, because John Duke of Newcastle, it says here, he has the best estate in England and employs most of his time in improving it. Is very covetous, yet makes a great figure at his seat in Yorkshire. Is firm for the constitution of his country, and has only one daughter, who will be the richest heiress in Europe. He is a black, all right? He is a black, ruddy complexion man, near 60 years old. Again, he is a black, ruddy complexion man. A black, ruddy complexion man. So who is this guy right here? This guy is not black and ruddy. This is not John, Duke of Newcastle. Stop lying to us. Dodge the hijack. This is the next person we're going to look at. It says Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond. It says is the son to King Charles II by Duchess of Portsmouth. All right.
Yeah.
Son of King Charles II. This is the website, Wikipedia's, you know here that they're from the Henry Stuart. By the way, so this same Duke of Charles Lennox, all right, which is a Stuart too. Remember, these all Stuarts, Jacobites, all right. This is the picture they got for him. All right.
Is that not a bad lace front right there? That's a bad lace front.
Bro.
A white man with a curl, default, very well bred, and has many valuable things in him. Is an enemy to business, very credulous, well-shaped, black complexion, much like King Charles.
Okay, that's why I want to stop it there. Okay. That's why I want to stop it. So, and just to clarify, these are official documents that were being recorded to enable William of Orange to come and take over Britain. Okay, so these aren't like these are not comics. These are not like tabloids. These are official documentation from an actual spy that was used to scope out the current nobles of the land with an attempt of soon usurping and taking over.
Thank you for saying that, sir, because this is why, you know, when people say like, you know, color has no issue, I'm colorblind, you know, I don't see color. Now, if I need to look for somebody, I need to know the best description as possible, right?
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a blue shoe and I say I don't see color, then I'm looking for any shoe in it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, bro. The way that this diary, the memoirs have been put there was for a reason, in it. So therefore, to describe, if the color didn't matter, then they would not put black complexion. They would not put even the type of black, even you know, the precision of the hue of the color. One of them was ruddy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not just like this was like a red skin black. So that's what I'm saying. It was important. So I'm glad that the guy put the references of what they see after the Renaissance period to what was written in the memoirs. So You know, let that speak, not us.
And like, you know, something on that note, like where I got it. So is it here? Is it? James Francis.
Yeah, we're gonna air after.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Can
So
we,
this is
all right. Sorry,
right, I think this is one picture. A second. Can you see that?
Yes.
This is the picture that I was talking about. And so like this is said to be James Francis Edward Stuart, Prince James III of England. And so there are other depictions of him where he looks slightly different. And this is that's his hair. He's said to be like I said. So like I'm just showing you sort of like
Look at that.
like, I mean, like Mama's got waves for days. I'm joking. Like obviously, like you got it highly hydrated. And I thought I'll sort of just show that picture there. If you go back, I'm not sure if you're still on this on the correct picture to. Oh no, that was on a different. I believe that was on a different tab than I'm on now, where I showed you King James himself. I thought I'd just show you that. This was to be King James III, and also there's Charles V, which is recorded in the in Mesoamerican codexes. And if I showed you him, like I mean, I'm not sure if I could show you him. So Charles V.
Yeah. Do that. Make that the last one because I want to introduce our conclusion. Well, to end, well, to bring this to a close, if anything. But yeah, just this last one because I'm interested myself. Oh gosh, no, you're showing too much. You know, I'm seeing stuff on your screen. This could go on for like eons.
It's Charles V, like King Charles V. Well, I mean, find because it's from a codex. You see, from a specific codex. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right. I didn't find the name of the codex, you know, to find it because there's a specific name of a codex, and it shows there's Inca. It's not Aztec. It's Inca. That's it, Inca.
That's Mesoamerica Incas, yeah.
And so, like, when you hear it,
is all right. Go on to your far right. Go up. It's not that one. No, go up.
Here it is. Bam. Here it is. Here's the official one. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay.
Cool. There we go. Yeah, for.
Where is the picture though? So okay, the picture's not there. It's not actually okay. 1 second. Inca Kings. Maybe it's on this one here. Let me see.
Yeah, because you're seeing
it's actually cut off before you get to see Charles. You see, but what we need. Okay, this is the full version here. Is boom. Okay, but there's a thumbnail of him there. Bam, that's him there.
Boom. Look at that fire there.
So I'm going to open up another tab anyway. There you go.
Wow.
Carlos Quintos, which is basically Carlos Quintos in Spanish. You know what that means, anyway? Carlos Quintos is Charles V. And that is the official, that's an official documentation in the museum. That's like the official one. Let me show you the
Where's the museum, bro?
That museum, I think it's in Mesoamerica. That one there is somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's in Mesoamerica. And so,
bro, I bet you anchored that. Anchor and send that over.
Museo Larco, Inca Kings tree.
Inbox that to me, like, oh yeah, send me that.
Okay, so this is like an official document, still present there today. You can see the kings first of all. Also, you can see the changes also. But there's Charles V. Here, the Inca Kings. Again, like I mean, obviously you might not know about families and heritage, but they're all Swafis. So Swafi hashtag. So, and there's King Charles V. Again, so Swafi, crown and all, and scepter. And there's another depiction of him. And so there's so much for us to go into and to study regarding sort of.
See, Ashanti, sorry, I'm looking at the comments at the same time.
Go on, what was it?
Afro got it going on.
Yeah, man, I've got bear jokes from the comments this evening. I'm not gonna lie, it got me chuckling away. It's very good because although it's serious, it's also laughable, isn't it? The con, the covers.
Yeah, it brings joy as well.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, so yeah, it is again, it is laughable, and it's kind of crazy that we're only just now really getting to grips on this situation, if we're honest, because 1 second,
It's not crazy. It's because we've got the tools, haven't we now?
that's
Like
true.
the lives, we can share now. Like, Corey, I've never
We've got
met
the
you
medium,
physically. I've
we've got
only
the
ever met you
technology.
online, right? So look what we can create with platforms. This is my whole point. This
Yeah.
is what Miss Roots
I
talks
feel
about.
really bad.
How else, right?
So we've gone through a lot, I think, today anyway. And so the question was really about critical questions around the Bible and why
We went to
people pull out, black
deep.
people gravitate towards it. And I think because it resonates with us, we could say it resonates in ways that maybe not all people know. I'm not sure all people know that actually King James is depicted as a swarthy black guy. I'm not sure if anybody really knows about King Charles V, either, for example, or the many others that we've gone over today as such regarding their descriptions and depictions. Black.
All of it.
Yeah, before you wrap up
Wait.
the visuals, we've got one request, and I think it's important we do this. Okay,
Yeah.
Can we go George
Asked
III?
2 times. We need to see George III.
George III.
Yeah. Not the hijacked version.
Oh, the George III, the Moorish. Okay, okay. Let me just have a look for that then. Okay. So we're gonna.
Not the hijack. That's the new version now. Yeah, I like watching that video. The hijacks. I like that
Yeah.
term.
And I like Wikipedia. Oh my.
Yeah, that one.
I'm taking that. Wikipedia. Wow.
Not even Wikipedia, you know, like that
Amazing.
was the one.
Yeah.
I peeped at a moment. Like when I first heard that, I was like, yo, straight away. It's like this, isn't it? You can only peep this.
That's definitely going into my vocab bank. Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia and hijack. So I'm not gonna say whitewash anymore.
So
I'm gonna say
George
hijack.
III. Let's have a look. I got a George III here, but I mean, you might have to send me a link to it because maybe on the. Let's have a look.
I can see on my end real quick.
Have a look for your end. If you can, just try and send me the link. I'm looking for it right now to have a look at George III.
Yeah, you know.
Because the ones that I'm finding here are George. Maybe I can put a search bar or something.
Yeah, type in George III Moorish.
Just Google it and then go into images.
Moorish. Okay, I'll put George III Moorish. But there, you're not talking about like for real kicks. I mean, I've got somebody up right now. Like I'm for real, like I mean, okay, this could be Oh, okay. I think okay. Now I think we may. I think I may have the George III we're talking about here. Actually, I'm not even because the picture's so bad. It's hard to see it from there. Moorish King of Europe, Charles the Stewart.
Yeah, I don't mind us displaying the research process, right? So when you share,
sure. So
I quite like people watching you look for it. I think that's quite engaging and will encourage people to do that themselves, right? So don't do research while she's sharing the screen.
Can you see that? So I found this one here. Obviously, I knew about this before, but that's a different depiction of a European British royal. But I wasn't sure if this was the depiction you was talking about here.
So this is George III Moorish.
Well, I'm not. I haven't personally. King George III.
George III.
There are depictions, but because I haven't had a chance to verify any of these images, I'm not sure. Like personally verifying previously, I'm not sure whether. Have you seen this before? Have you verified this before yourself?
I haven't. I'm just going by the comments. Yeah, so I quite like.
Have you verified yourself before, Nathan?
No,
Yes,
Nathan,
again.
have you
One sec.
verified this yourself before?
Yes, sir.
You have.
See, I'm in the search. Okay, wait. I can't. I just scroll back up the more. See, I'm only seeing that, but I'm just trying to find which one's highlighted as George the First. See, I can see that Osborne thing here, but I'm trying to look myself. Hold on.
Letter from Sultan to King
watch
George
this.
III. That's the Sultan, that is. But here we've got George III here. Have you seen this George III picture before?
Perry Anderson thing.
No, what I mean is that have you? Is this something that you're already
up at the top?
Are you familiar with George III, Nathan? Yourself?
I'm new to
I'm not
this
with
part.
George III.
His picture. All right. His picture is in this London Science Museum. Charlotte was his wife.
Oh, Queen Charlotte.
All right. So let's get a. See, I was looking at that one. Right. So let's use these as keywords real quick here. Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm gonna put that to one side.
Just why don't you send me the link
I'm
in the
gonna just
and I'll go
type
to it.
in George III.
George III.
Moorish. 1 second. Charlotte wife. Okay, and I'm gonna do a web search more than image. All right, cool. Move this over here and just go now. See, that's Wikipedia doing. That's the Wikipedia's version.
Sure. Have you seen?
Was this?
If you have a link, can you send me the link?
First black queen. Oh, there's Charlotte.
I know who Charlotte is.
Wife of George III. Black. I'm going into the Guardian now. Oh, she looks like a light-skinned girl, like Sir Alan Ramsay's portrait of Queen Charlotte at the
Queen Charlotte's a
museum.
woman of colour, yeah. Are we looking for Queen Charlotte here?
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, we're looking for George. So George, well, Charlotte was some light-skinned looking girl. I can tell straight by her features on the picture.
Son George V. This is Son George V. Apparently, this is like maybe an engraving, but I haven't verified this myself before.
No,
so I'm not sure.
Ash was saying that the fifth, we need a third. Now, click the Megan post. Are you watching the comments? Click the Megan post. The news.
I don't know whether the Megan post is going to set us off on a different tangent, though.
Yeah.
Is that going to show us the picture of George? I mean,
yeah.
So this is Charlotte's son, George III.
Interesting.
This maybe see what we were talking about here then, because this is.
Well, that makes sense because we all know Charlotte was a woman of color, so it makes sense. But her husband,
on that note, actually, yeah. Well, if we go back to sort of again, so if I can pull this one here and
we need to get to the London Science Museums that something to highlight as well.
Ooh,
I'm gonna just what I'll do just whilst it's in my head.
Okay, if we look at people of color, we've got this here, we've got this here. So this here actually isn't that surprising, I don't think, actually. And in a minute, I'm going to look up now for you the Mask of Blackness, which is actually King Charles's wife, and how she was depicted for a play, because that actually was very interesting also. And I think she was a Danish queen, sorry.
All right, make this your last search so we can close this.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, good. But again, like I said, we need to have like a series.
For miles, bro. Seriously.
Well, yeah. You've got there's too much for us to figure out and discover. Let's have a look.
Okay. I want to see if that's in the Science Museum. I'm going to London in the next couple of weeks, so that's going to be one of my go-tos. I'll go there straight.
Okay, we'll just close that down. So I'm going to go to where? Okay, so here, I want to see who she actually like Masco thingy. So Charles's wife. This is. I'm not going to get into get time. I don't think to really show you all of it. But I wanted to go through her name and stuff. One moment. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
That's King James's wife. Depiction of King James's wife. That is. And then there was a play called The Mask of Blackness that she commissioned and was to be a part of herself. And if we go to the description here, it says, look, it says The Mask of Blackness was an early Jacobean or Jacobite era masque or masquerade, first performed in Stuart courts and banqueting halls of Whitehall Palace and Twelfth Night. And so again, I'll go back to that picture again. That's how she had the cover of the finger depicted and drawn.
Wow.
This is the Queen. This is the wife of King James.
Amazing. Well, I just got to emphasize that Wikipedia is edited by us, right? So it's not an absolute reliable.
I've already referenced this, so unlike
right.
I already know this. I've already referenced it. I can verify that this is from official sources, how it's depicted, because I've referenced it. So yeah, I agree. Wikipedia can't be trusted. I'm not saying that it's not accurate, but unfortunately, I've already referenced and researched this years ago. That's how I knew about it, King James. So I can say that I can vouch for this. And this is depiction of the wife of King James in a play that she commissioned, seeming to try and combat the quite new resistance towards blackness and black royalty. And so this was essentially this play was essentially seeming to be a way of bridging gaps and trying to undemonize the idea of blackness how it was being presented recently since the translation of the Bible. What it seems like, actually.
I'd love to have a copy of that book. That's going on my list. Or that play.
Yeah. Amazing. So
we've
gone through quite a few things. There's a husband there. There's a husband. There's Fingy. So we've seen King Charles V here. We've also got again what seems to be a depiction of George III, the son of Charlotte. And again, there's no discouraging that. They've got the fleur de lis there, little fleur. That's my family's thing. That's my family's thing. Yeah, King James and wife. King James and wife. King James. And so, yeah, we've gone through so much today. I think it's been pretty incredible. We've shown some really good sources regarding like anthropological evidence for the known first inhabitants of Britain. So we can trace ourselves back, as the Guardian said, 10,000 year unbroken lineage. We've also shown the other depictions from more modern Somerset rulers. I think it was Charles II that was one of the lords of Somerset. In recent actual accounts, we've shown the BBC's account from Tacitus of other family members of the Slorish tribe. We've gone through quite a bit today, actually. I think one of the take homes is that actually there's a lot more people of color involved in the Bible on the creation of it than we was ever told. And I think that's a really important thing because yes, it may have been used as a colonial weapon. That's true, but its origins were quite different. And I think also the sort of Jacobites being shipped out of Britain and being expelled, ending up in North America, and then ending up in the islands. That's also another really important part because a lot of those people there have Jacobite heritage. And they wouldn't even know. So I think we've done some good talks today. We could go on a bit more about this. We went on to about the Tower of Babel and about how we're messing with splitting atoms, creating weather, which is really amazing, and manipulating genes, and sort of what the potential impact of that is on the world. We talk about global warming a lot, but they don't really talk about, okay, well, are we going to stop these companies and nations maybe stop messing with the weather? They don't mention that. They mention global warming, but they don't say we need to make a law to stop people messing with the weather. People are still messing with the weather. They're still splitting atoms. They're still using all sorts of HARP and radio technologies for space and otherwise in the ionosphere. But at the same time, they're saying, oh, we're really worried about the atmosphere. I'm really worried about global warming. Well, then maybe we need to have legislation in place so you guys stop messing with it. Because at the moment, it's like, you're going to complain about global warming, but y'all be messing with the weather all the time.
But all that is of the nature, right? So that's where it gets theological, because it is all earth, isn't it? It is all for us to discover. So the question is, where do we draw the line? Where is the ethical code? Because they're definitely not listening to the Bible anymore, are they? So it's very, very political. There's economical issues there as well, because it is about capitalism and power and all of the above, right? So it's not just black and white like that, is it? It's there's levels to this. Ultimately, humans, our nature is to discover and to create, and ultimately that is what they are doing. Yes, it's ethically incorrect to be creating fetuses. They created a fetus the other day, right? So, but they have to destroy it by the time it reaches a certain age. Now, ethically, is that correct? Their argument is, well, it's not a baby yet. It doesn't breathe, it doesn't eat, but actually you've created an embryo, you've created this. So, I mean,
what are you doing this for? Exactly. I mean, like, are you sure? Again, like, this is so, I mean, this is scary, because we think about population manipulation and the respawning or reseeding of populations. If they're like, I said to somebody a while ago, I'm not sure who it was now, about how they're presenting wars. They've got lots of seeds, like male seed will say, sperm in the bank. And when they send like people to war, it's like cannon fodder. People will be like, just unfortunately cannon fodder. There's acts of genocide happening right now. You could say genocide's happening right now in some places in the world, you could say. And then afterwards, what would be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We can just reseed people. I mean, like, it's getting like, that is scary level Babylon type playing God, if you ask me.
But we are. Do you know what I mean? But we are, and we can, and we have, and we did. You see my point? So I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just saying it's happening. It is of the nature. And where we draw the line, that's up to us. We gotta keep having these discussions. We gotta let people know ultimately the power lies with the people. So if we allow these things to happen, they will happen.
Yeah. And with the power line within the people, we do need us as one another. And one thing that I want to say, if I was able to jump in on live here at the time when you jumped in, is like, guys, a late welcome to En Route 23. Don't be shy and raise critical confidence. And that's it. Let's be confident in this, because, for us to make changes, we have to be confident to bring things to the table. Right now, what I've witnessed is, even when we can be humble enough to be unsure, we should be able to be confident enough to actually research what we're unsure about, rather than to stay in the complacency.
Yeah. I think that's
some people. Yeah, go on.
Earlier at the start of this, you were talking about, is it okay for us to challenge or ask questions? And I think, like I said, so I think I'll put in some in the internal comments about, actually, the Bible does say it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to learn and to be. Good. Is that
Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 15 tells you that. It says, "The simple believeth every word, but the prudent shall look about their goings." And also what you just said about study, it says, "Study to show thyself approved," which is in the New Testament. So, which is true. It's just wisdom that's put there. Let's not, you got those people out there that will question you to be, what's the words? a super cyber critique. They just, even when you're right, they just want to make you feel wrong, even though they know you're right, but they just try to make you question your own confidence.
Yeah,
They'll
I
do
think
that all
so.
day long. Yeah, that you got that.
Yeah,
Those are known as trolls, in it.
you
Trollers.
gotta do things with love ultimately, right? So
Yeah.
that's what separates us from that's what separates us from the animal kingdom. The ability to think and challenge and critique and analyze and create
Yeah.
right? Hence why they're in the labs forming embryos, right? This is just them analyzing. Yes, I understand that there's levels to this, but who's to say? I mean, if you look at the comments now, I mean, Africans were also messing around with well, should I say Africans? Our ancestors were also messing around with matter, right? We've messed around with matter from the beginning
Alchemy.
of days, right? That how do you think we even learned how to produce fire? You have to be critically analytical, right? You have to think, oh, let me try and rub these two together and see what happens. Oh, fire, right? Back then, they would have saw that as probably, oh no, you're not allowed to do that. Who knows? We don't know. All we know is that we've got to
Some of the greatest. Some of the greatest inventions have come from, as we say, trial and error. Yeah, right. We never knew how to build. I have to say this because it only came up about a couple of weeks ago. We only knew to build a bomb shelter post knowing what a bomb does. Why would anyone build a bomb shelter before a bomb ever went off in life? Do you know what I'm saying? Something had to happen before we said, oh damn, let me just put 2 and 2 together. Boom. Oh, okay, we just messed up here. Something messed up. So how can we change that? So it's like the same way with a bike and stabilizers. You would not know to put stabilizer on a bike until you fell off the bike, innit? The bike, there's an imbalance in the bike, so you think, all right, cool. You would never have known about stabilizers on a bike until the bike was there. So these are the things. This is where us being creators, we may mess up at times trying to do, like, when we know it's clearly wrong what we're doing, no matter how much try it's wrong what we're doing, it's wrong. Okay, we might be able to find, all right, cool, it went wrong this way. Let's try and fix something here to try and fix it, or make it better, or harness it in some shape or form. You know, like how to harness an explosion. You know, how to harness light. You got 60 watt bulbs, 40 watt bulbs, and 20 watt bulbs. You know, one's too bright. If you was to expose light with no harness, it's called chaos. You're gonna burn everything. You know, and that's the thing.
I do think there is a cosmic order, right? So we can't go backwards. We can only go forward. So today we are here. We are here, right? We are online. I know you, Nathan, physically. Never met Corey before. There's people in the chat room I'm connecting with, and I've never even seen their faces, right? So this is all no coincidence. This is all as is, right? So for me, in my mind's eye, this is of the nature, right? This is God don't make no mistakes, right? This is as is. So all we can do now is be aware and conscious and not let time get ahead of us without being with it, so to speak, or a part of it, right? So the way you can be a part of it and not let the elites run absolutely everything or not know who you are is to continue to think critically, right? Continue to do your research, continue to educate yourself, and be part of networks who are of the same mindset, so you can exchange knowledge and wisdom. That's all we can do right now. And reason with each other, right? Discuss with each other their perspectives and feel out what resonates with you, Carl. Ultimately, there's no wrong, there's no right. There just is.
No, exactly. Well, we established that, and it is, you know what, there's one. Now, what you've said, there's more to say. I don't want to say any much more because we can go another million miles with this. One thing that I wanted to say first, well, before we continue, is even to come to the close, is I really appreciate you guys being here, and don't worry, I got you guys in the comment in a minute. The fact that we were on a journey, and this is something that has been in my part a long time coming, and the fact that we actually got a movement happening right now, and there's been many movements all across the board, but what we have here, what we've got available to us with En Route especially, is the fact that we use these platforms to be able to analyze oneself, each other as a community, so we can see where there is that continuous room for improvement. And that's it. And with this, even on this topic, a critical look at the Bible. Look. Sorry, can you hear? I just heard something.
Hey, sorry, my apologies. Something I'd like a bit of a rogue thing going on there. Continue. My apologies.
It's all right. I thought there's someone else about to jump in it. Sorry. All right, you're a bit late, whoever you are. But anyways, so imagine just that alone, look how it's manifested into this. This is why I'm glad that it came to this point. We're going to continue. We're going to have to do a part 2, 3, 4, a lifelong. Anytime we say a critical look at the Bible, and when you guys are ready, we'll just do it again. And Ashanti and Ashar, if you guys are ready to come in at any point, look, this is where I'm coming to you guys. Your input and contributions have actually even warmed my spirit. I came from today, I came back in my house and I had a small amount of time to go from in my house to on here, because this is the dedication that I would expect, well, not even expect, would love all of us to be in, where no matter what we go through and endure in life with the traumas that we've gone through, to here now, to be able to build a legacy for those that still trying to have the lifelong learning that we want, because it's going to endure as long as we exist on the face of this earth. So that's my part. And the last thing before you guys do say anything is to wish my daughter a happy birthday today. She turned 17. So
happy
so
birthday.
Yeah, and that was it. She turned. Yeah, so just so if she ever watches this, at least she knows that she's been acknowledged as well. So big up to my daughter, Alashani. You know, I love you.
That's beautiful. Love that. That's really nice.
There's something I want to end on, but can you go first if you like?
Okay. Well, you go and then I'll totally wrap up, right?
Okay, yeah, you can wrap it up. So, oh gosh, one sec. So I thought that I would like to end on something which I think is kind of like, I think it's kind of the one of the primary functions of what we're doing here, and I've got a Britannia article up also to talk about it, but I just thought that I wanted to just show some footage, if that's okay. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. Again, this is a bit off topic, but I really want, I think for inspirational purposes, and like, I think that'd be really useful for us. So let me just share my screen quickly. Okay. Now, this is about the Greenwood area. And this is going to go into some of the businesses like grocery stores, barbershops, doctors, real estates, places as well. There were dentists there. There was also cinemas. This article here talks about 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private aeroplanes, 1 hospital, 1 bank. Okay, so just to clarify, in these days, Tulsa, 1921 times, in prior, 1921, even like in the North Americas, our people were able to have their own bank, their own hospital, 6 private aeroplanes, 2 movie theaters, 30 grocery stores, 21 restaurants, 21 churches, 600 businesses. And this is some of the rare footage from Smithsonian.
Some African American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white...
Okay. I wasn't going to get into the war part too much because I think that's a bit separate to what we was what I really wanted to get into. The part which I think was really great. It's sort of like this part here. This is one of the schools, and these are the children coming out of school.
A remarkable Baptist pastor.
And we can see how well developed and how much and what we're capable of. And again, to reiterate, a bank. Our communities had a bank of their own. They're a bank, a hospital, 6 private aeroplanes, 2 movie theaters, 30 grocery stores, 21 restaurants, 21 churches, and 600 businesses. And just to clarify, Tulsa was one of many swarthy towns, you could say, or black towns in North America at that time. It wasn't the only one. It's the most famous, but it was not the only one. There were many. And so 100 years ago, we had a bank. We had our own banks. We had our own grocery stores. We had the infrastructure that we needed to thrive. And when we look at that, it was obvious that thriving is what we did.
No, I think that's actually quite interesting, even though it's like it's off topic, right? It's connected, but it's off the topic of a critical look at the Bible. What it does do is set us up neatly for our next section, Corey, right? That's almost like a cliffhanger. Doom, 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 right? That's how I'm preying that. So I think we need to have a meeting. We'll reflect after this live and we'll pick up off the back of what you have just presented, because you can't do that, bro. You cannot just show a video, right, at the end of such an amazing session this evening. We need to carry that on, right? So just as a teacher, I'm seeing how that can work, okay? So yeah, for all those that are interested in the Black Wall Street and how Black people had their own economic system, their own schools, their own churches, their own businesses, and maybe how we can learn from that, I think that discussion could well be very powerful. All right, so I'm just planting that seed. But I am conscious now that we're quickly approaching nearly 4 hours. We need to be disciplined. Need to be disciplined, right? So, as you said earlier, we've packed in a lot today, right? And I'm going to emphasize that the main point of this, what we are doing, is to raise critical confidence, right? We don't talk. We don't pry enough. We don't share information that we have. Now we have information at our fingertips and platforms like this. Why not? Right? So that is the whole point of En Route 23. And this evening, we took a critical look at the Bible. So anybody that's just chiming in now, or, you know, if you want to share this, that really was the highlight. I want to also emphasize the style of this platform. So we are kind of rebuking the idea of structure and power. We're very collaborative. So we come with a theme, but we allow the discussion to take its own form, its own shape, because I am challenging current educational practices with the teacher at the front dictating and the students being the learners, containing information just to pass the exam. I'm more about this sharing, providing space and allowing education to be a communicative thing, a collaborative thing, right? So that's what I'm playing around with the addition of online digital technologies. There are freedoms here. Yeah, we could go on 24 hours like we have before, right? So these are all my points for raising critical confidence. Look, you all shared information directly off the internet. This is a very powerful lesson, very, okay? So I just wanted to kind of emphasize that, just so people know what I'm about, why I've done this, why we do this, why, you know, every Sunday, it'll be valuable because there'll be more of this. Yeah. What I also would like to know is what people would like to talk about, right? So today there was some emphasis on the Moors. I think the Moors could be another powerful theme, right? So I've made loads of notes this evening. I've got loads of ideas for the shows. Every Sunday we'll be here. Most Sundays we'll be here. So let's just keep it rolling with more guest speakers, and encourage people to join in the discussion as well. The more of us on the screen, the more powerful contributions are made, right?
Indeed.
So that's how I want to kind of conclude the session today. I just want to see if there's any more comments that maybe I should show before we go. Yeah, there are a load of comments, right? So much powerful comments coming from Ashanti and Ashar, you know, regarding the cosmic order,
Okay.
carbon. Yeah, there's this, you know, that connection with the nature again. Beautiful.
I know that term.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a cosmic order, and you know, we were already doing science experiments, right? Hence why we were able to build the pyramids, and you know, look at some of the colossal monuments left in Ethiopia and Sudan, and so we were already messing around with science, right? Here we go. Look, we knew about nuclear science, so all of this comes from experimenting, critiquing. So why stop now? Yeah.
Well, it's one quick point I was going to say, and are you aware of the first computers, like the Swathi ladies that did the algorithms for the space exploration for NASA?
Yes.
Yep.
Hidden Figures. The movie's called Hidden Figures. But again,
Right.
and so those people came from towns just like the Wall Streets, just like the Negro Wall Streets. Yeah, and so who did they turn to do those algorithms that most men couldn't do? Yeah, it speaks for itself, and it speaks for itself.
Those black universities were some of the most powerful universities, of course. You know, the black professors and Howard and places like that. They've spat out some real intellects. So yeah, it's important that we can continue to do stuff like this, continue to, you know, look at how education can be for us, so that we can bring out the masterminds, right? Because that's what education should do, bring out the masterminds. So we're here. As I say, let's wrap up now, though. We've got to be disciplined. That's another key principle that we must try and
adhere to.
Adhere to, indeed, discipline. Okay, so any last words from you two before we wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you. It was amazing. The
All right. I want to say thank you as well. I want to say thank you to all the contributors here as well, and anyone that listens in. Please do just go. If you haven't subscribed yet, just look on the scrolling text at the bottom and the green box. Just subscribe, share, and like, comment on root23.com. And please continue to hashtag raising critical confidence. Okay, you can find us on X, which is known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, where else? Also on TikTok as well. Find us on there. We're going to be posting more content and things on those. And please just make sure you subscribe, especially on the YouTube channel as well, where you're at. And you'll be updated on everything that's going to happen. Any we actually got more thing that's going to be happening as well. So please subscribe so you stay updated. It's not just going to be the Sunday sessions that's going on. It's also going to be actually just go onto the website. That's the best thing I can do right now.
Thanks for that, Nathan. Yeah, just want people to know we are new. We're a new platform. We're growing. We're developing. So you'll see, you know, when you go over to those social media sites, that everything's quite new. And we want to expand. We want to bring like minds together. The more minds, the more powerful. Power in numbers. So, yeah, thanks those that are here, and share. Tell people we're here. Bring them to the discussion. Let's learn from each other. That's the whole point. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. It was good.
So, you're going to go to... Excellent, guys. Thank you so much. You're going to go into the outro ads.
I will do.
All right. Corey, stay here. Don't drop down yet.
Okay. No, cool.
Stay in.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, sure.
And hopefully see you next week.
Soon.